AOC on 2024, the climate crisis and selling out. Now we're going to zero in on the selling out part. And you notice they have quotes within the quotes over selling out as if it's questionable, as if it's in question. So let me bring this down and let me read these little snippets I got, little excerpts, I should say, I have here. And let's start with this one. I mean, this is really it. You may have some more of the article that you want to go over, but I took out the key parts to what we're going to cover today. Yeah, so well, I'll just read my whole tweet. So it said, AOC is on a PR tour with corporate media in an attempt to whitewash her betrayals. Now, if we notice, Nick, in the last week or so, we've covered 3 articles on AOC. She is on a PR tour. She hears what Mediaite is reporting about us. That RBN group, guys, they don't like no squad. So they're hearing that, not just from us, but, and all of our comrades. And now listen for this excerpt from this article. And I think this is The Guardian. Sorry. So this is The Guardian.
Look at this first part. So, CJ, do you mind if I cover this first part?
No, go ahead. Be my guest.
Listen to this. They show you guys why there's miles of difference between the AOC quote unquote left and the most extreme, dangerous left network in the country. Listen to this part. And I'm only going to read the first sentence I passed to you because I got a lot to say on it. I just skimmed ahead. For the left, the war in Ukraine is potentially more complicated. Pause. What are you talking about? See, this is the same thing, fam. This is the same thing that they do regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. Whenever you're in the wrong on a very easy issue to get right, you're like, come on, man, this is a complicated issue. The Israel-Palestine, that's a complicated issue. No, it is not. That is an issue of settler colonialism. And everyone, you have people in the Middle East, you have people in the global South, South Africa, Nelson Mandela and their movement, who call out Israel. Israel not recognized by many countries in the world because they see through this. It's not a hard issue to get wrong. Now, regarding Ukraine war, what did I tell you guys? You can talk about the history. You can talk about the Maidan coup. You can talk about the fact that the Ukrainian government shelled and committed ethnic cleansing against the Russian people, including banning their language. Around 13,000 people died in the Donbass that was killed by the Ukrainian government. You can talk about all that, right? But ideologically, I'm a socialist. I'm a communist. Ideologically, AOC, aren't you a socialist? So why are you saying this is complicated? Because I said many times on RBN, history aside, CJ, facts aside, Zelensky aside, the Minsk Accord aside, socialists and communists are always inherently against funding Nazis. It doesn't matter what the story was, CJ. Doesn't fucking matter. So when she's saying it's complicated, no, it's not. There's the Azov Battalion and Banderites that left organizations been warning against funding for years. So it's not complicated. You don't fund Nazis, period. What's complicated about that, CJ? What's complicated
nothing at all. Nothing.
Anyway, I'll let you continue. That's the point I want to make. They always pretend that the wars and the conflict that the United States get wrong is somehow complicated. Oh, Gaddafi, that's a complicated situation, CJ. They don't try to overthrow Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela, complicated. Guys, when you read and you witness empire propaganda as long as I have, you see patterns. AOC, one sentence in, I read a little bit of this article, is already repeating state propaganda already. And I'm passing you so you can continue. She puts on the clinic, CJ. Someone sat her down when I read this and drilled her on exactly what to say. But I'll pass to you. You guys see. No, you guys can see why me as we continue. But go ahead, CJ.
Where did you?
I just read the first sentence.
Okay, all right. So here we go. But U.S. support for Ukraine has put critics of the military-industrial complex. Now I'm going to read this separately and then go back to the sentence. Let me just read what's in parentheses here. The government spends about $900 billion a year on defense, around 15% of the federal budget, or 3.3% of the gross national product. So I just wanted to read that, and now I'm going to go back and read the sentence complete. But U.S. support for Ukraine has put critics of the military-industrial complex in the uncomfortable position of rooting for the Pentagon and endorsing a windfall for defense contractors. Longtime skeptics of U.S. imperialism suddenly find themselves, and this is the part I said earlier, aligned with Republican hawks. Now, this, Nick, I'll pause here. This is one of the professional managerial classes publications. It's one of their better ones, but this is still one of their. So to hear this from them is quite not shocking, but it's eye-opening to me that they're this. Yeah, it's a tell. That's a better way of saying it, because they're describing her as a critic. They're describing her and progressives overall. They're critics of the military-industrial complex typically, but this putting them in an uncomfortable position for rooting for them. This is the part that really is eye-opening to me. And endorsing a windfall for defense contractors, Nick. Go ahead. That's eye-opening that they admit
to that point. I have made a point on this show, and I'll keep bringing up to Bernie Simps on Twitter. You can be emotional. You can have these fatherly feelings for Bernie all you fucking want, you simps. But here's a fact. Bernie Sanders made a vote, and that vote led to a boom of Raytheon and Boeing defense contractors, which is a massive and permanent L on your record, Bernie. This is why people like Michael Prenti abandoned Bernie Sanders long ago, because he is now enabling imperialism. Because CJ, the Pentagon and the United States government, I know they lied before, but surely they're telling the truth this time. That's what the Bernie left want us to believe. And Bernie Sanders and AOC, who paint themselves as a critic of the military-industrial complex, you know we're the smart left on RBN, right? You know there's a dumb left. CJ, these are the people who only listen to politicians' words. You know Bernie and AOC say they're anti-war. Why you guys don't like them? AOC says she don't like war. AOC and Bernie says they don't like corruption. Why you question them? And then there's the real smart left, the RBN left, who we don't care what the fuck you say, fam. What you tweet about and what you say is irrelevant. What are you voting for? What power are you enabling? That's why you don't have to pay attention to Bernie's tweets no more. He got a live stream going to do today that I'm sure he's going to do great, made a few interviews. No one watches them anymore. Because it doesn't matter, because they virtue signal, they grandstand, they hot dog in front of the camera, and then they vote for empire. So in this article, they say, yo, these people are critics of the military-industrial complex. I would not agree with that sentence. They pretend they are, but they've been voting with the war for years. But I'll let you continue, CJ. I'm gonna have a lot of things. So I need to cut myself short. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, no problem.
I text you. I read the first I read the first 2-3 paragraphs. I decided to stop because I'm like, all right, dude, I'm gonna destroy this. I don't need to read more. I cover it. I watched CJ present it live. I was like, this is unbelievable. They're being forced to talk about this. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, CJ. There's gonna be a lot for me to say. So go ahead.
Yeah. So let's go to this other excerpt, and then we'll bring up the actual article for any other bits and pieces we want to touch on. Now, understand this is part of what it's a companion. It's speaking to that. These aren't two separate paragraphs. They're back to back. So AOC are
to arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done. This is the same thing. The country was very divided. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. We have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war. Just think of it. We would be in World War II very quickly.
He says two so dramatically. He's got the music. It's almost like it's the summer of 1939 all over again. Like, and his father's going to a Nazi rally or something, or a Klan rally. I don't know which rally he did or didn't go to. But yeah, Jonathan Lemire, you think they may want to take out the cognitively impaired part of his speeches from now on?
Yeah, that's an attack line that the Republicans and Trump love to use. But man, that does seem like he was looking in the mirror just there. I mean, and I think that we see these polls that suggest that voters are more concerned about President Biden's age than Donald Trump's age. Trump is only 3 years younger, and anyone watching Trump day in, day out shows he's changed too. He's definitely, slowed down a step. He mixes. He's never, not that he's ever been the most perhaps clearest of thinkers. Not that he ever perhaps was always someone who wouldn't trip over his own words, but that has only accelerated here. And the speech on Friday, Joe, he gave back-to-back speeches in Washington. That was fairly late in the day. Maybe he was swept up in the dramatic music that seemed to be almost playing him off the stage there. Really maybe that's what that was. Yeah. The aides trying to say, hey, wrap up, Mr. Former President. You're just getting yourself in trouble here. He did say, though, he'd be happy to take another cognitive test. He thinks that's the key to election, so we can leave you with man, woman, person, camera, TV, Kaylee, or whatever that was.
He may not pass that.
You just did it again. I want to see. Let's play the clip again, because again, I'm trying to figure out what happened, especially with the Obama stuff. He starts to stutter and everything. Play this one more time. Then I want to ask Kathy if she and her family.
As you know, crooked Joe Biden and the radical left thugs who have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what. You take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done. This is the same thing. The country is very divided. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. We have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war. Just think of it. We would be in World War II very quickly.
It's just how he says World War II. He says it with such self-assurance. Kathy, this could happen to all of us. And in fact, it happens to me about 12 times a day after like 3 in the afternoon. So I'm the last person to judge. And by the way, we're thinking and praying for your families. You guys prepare to batten down the hatches for the next Battle of Britain. But I think the bigger issue here is when anybody under 75 looks at these videos, and I'm dead serious here, neither of these men are in cognitive decline. They're just not. They're tired. They're old. They campaign. And at the end of the day, they start to lose words. We all, as we get older, not you all are all very young, but as you get older, sometimes you wear down and you lose words at the end of the day.
I mean, especially if you have like 6 legal cases against you and you feel like your head is going to explode every day trying to figure out how to get out of them, especially when you committed the crimes. But that's an aside.
I don't know if Meek was being entirely sincere there, but that is also something. If any of us had one federal charge against us, that would be an unbearably heavy load to bear. This guy's got 91 counts.
Welcome to a Monday edition of the Nick and CJ show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping, my friends, my family? It's great to be back with my brother CJ. Welcome to Nick and CJ. And CJ, I know my ears not playing tricks on me right now. I know that these people are not trying to flip the cognitive decline back onto Trump. So we are post-duopolists. Like, Trump is obviously not worth voting for as well. But if anything, I've seen a political improvement in Trump where he was deeply inoppressive. He was caught off guard by a lot of liberal smears. But he had a CNN town hall where he dismantled the CNN anchor. Do you know her name? Caitlin something? I don't know her name. But
Caitlin Collins. Yes.
Dismantled her. He just went. Was it 60 Minutes? Some other show he went on. Now liberals are freaking out.
Meet the Press. Meet the Press. He was on. Yeah.
Liberals freaking out because Meet the Press had the audacity to interview someone who's the lead candidate for president. So liberals are melting down because Donald Trump was able to get his talking points out there, and they just fear having someone that can rebuke their charges on him and someone that can be an active political threat because they are inherently anti-democratic. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is running from media, historically low amount of press conferences. The same thing they used to complain about Trump last administration, which I think is a legit criticism. Because what I say, I think politicians should be out there all the time. You should be forced to defend your positions at any given time. You know that press secretary thing? Fucking garbage. Throw it out. Shit shouldn't exist. You should be going out there, but Biden can. The same way Trump didn't really do a lot. But you have Biden that has been treated like a toddler by his aides in speeches. People see that he's not functioning. So now the obvious concern is who's actually in charge of this administration. It's not this guy calling the shots. And I don't understand why Trump, to be honest, I don't understand why Trump supporters don't make that same calculation as well. The president all follow the rule of the empire. But the Democratic Party have a very unique challenge because you will know who is the next president in line, Kamala Harris.
Oh, Lord.
So if you're looking at both, if you're like, man, Biden and Trump are both old, you have Biden as old, who is most likely going to die, and then Kamala Harris is going to be president right after that. And Democrats realize that's a giant fucking problem because she is one of the most unpopular vice presidents in modern history. But CJ, I said, and if I'll pass it back to you, there's a lot of
and to that point, RFK actually calls this out, and we're going to get to that segment too. So a lot of these segments, like the topics sort of overlap, but we'll get to them. But in that clip with RFK, he says clearly, unless he can prove that cognitively he's sound, who's really running the country? That's pretty much what RFK says in the video. But Nick, let me put this clip up because I wanted to stop it before the blonde, I forget her name, but she's from the UK. Because she completely throws fire on this thing when she I don't know if she intentionally or unintentionally, she does this unintentionally. I saw it, maybe it is unintentionally, where she says something just thinking she's just saying her opinion, but it kind of throws fire on the argument that Joe Biden is trying to put, Morning Joe is trying to put forward. So listen to, I think her name is Katie something, and let's listen to what she says, and then we'll stop it.
4 indictments, and it's got to be weighing down on him. But the question here, Caddy, is that I heard over the weekend after this tape was out, it wasn't like, oh my God, Donald Trump's lost his mind. Oh my God, Joe Biden's lost my mind. The question comes back to, do we not have anybody under the age of 75 that can run for president of the United States in America?
It's weird that you put it at 75. I will probably take another 10 years, if not 15 years off of that. And it's simply because I have come to believe that young people, like if we want more progressive policies, the likelihood that we can get those policies with a large group of young people versus a large group of older people is a lot more likely. Doesn't mean that a group of older people can't be progressive and all that. I don't want anybody coming at me saying ages, because that's not what we're talking about. We're just saying what is plausible and what's probable. And I'm saying probable will be more to have younger people. If we want Medicare for all, we will be closer to that if we had 400 people that were under 50. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So that's just the point. But let's get back to the clip. She makes this point and she throws cold water on the entire argument that they give here.
Okay. And when?
Yeah, I mean, in a country of 330 odd million people, you'd think that there would be people out there, right? And all of the polls have shown us that none of the country is excited about the prospect of a Trump-Biden rematch. And yet, for a multitude of reasons that many people are disappointed with, that seems to be exactly where we're heading again. I mean, on this thing, it'll be really interesting to see whether, videotape like that one, where first time I heard it, I have to confess, I thought the network I was listening to it on had overplayed the music as a kind of spoof, but it does add to that slightly surreal quality of it, and perhaps that's why he was sort of whispering in this weird way about World War II. But I think the question is going to be, people hear that kind of videotape where it's hard to follow what Donald Trump is saying, and he does seem to be kind of mumbling, will it have any impact on all of those polls that show that more people think Joe Biden is too old to run for re-election than Donald Trump?
Look at their faces. Because she's basically saying, without saying it directly, she's saying, I'm not sure people is going to even interpret this video that way. Kind of looks like, like it's just like the sound problem. So I'm not sure people's going to see it the way you guys are trying to portray it, Morning Joe. And I'm not sure that's going to have an effect. And then she brings up again the fact that, yeah, they could be 3 years apart, but they're not 3 years apart in the poll on this question about age. They're more like 20 some plus points apart. But that's where I wanted to stop. Any comments, and then we can close this segment and get on to
I have the rest of the
show.
I have another segment I want to add to this. Why I think this is a good time transition.
Absolutely,
because I've been covering as an ongoing story how the media is actively gaslighting workers about the economy. And what's even more disgusting, I've seen a Bernie Sanders live stream, one of the few. No. And Bernie Sanders is one of the people that go along with this. He'd be like, yeah, we deserve credit. Me and Biden and the people he work with, we deserve credit for what we did with the economy. So we are in a disgusting position when people who claim they're activists and advocates of the worker who are now doing Democratic Party propaganda. That's who Bernie Sanders is. And now you got the media teaming with the progressives like AOC and Bernie Sanders that is gaslighting people. I'm going to show you guys a few headlines. And I'm going to show you the story from The Guardian where they want people to spread even more propaganda on behalf of the Biden administration because this is the most important election of our lifetime. So this is the corporate media with writers who are millionaires, who are paid by billionaires, telling the average working class person that the economy is going well because of stock market, GDP, and other bullshit that is a representative of how rich people are doing, essentially. So here's one headline. U.S. economy going strong under Biden. Americans don't believe it. Here's another one. And this is the funniest one of all. This is absolute liberal code. Biden's economic policies have quietly, CJ, quietly made people's lives better, and no one seems to care. CJ, why don't the fucking peasants praise the politicians for making rich people richer, I guess? And it shows how deranged liberals are. Liberals are so deranged, they expect us to praise politicians because the rich is doing really well. That's essentially what it is. That's when you look at the GDP, stock market, all that garbage is a reflection of rich people. And I have this question to liberals who pretending to be pro-union, pro-worker. I have a question for Bernie Sanders and the progressives who going along with this lie that Biden had this great economy. How do you reconcile the fact that so many workers are upset and wanting to strike with the idea that we have a good economy? Not only do we have the UAW that wanted to strike, we have multiple strikes over the last year or two. And then not only do we have multiple strikes, multiple workers unionizing, we have even more workers who can't unionize, who can't strike, who want to, CJ. Imagine how many workers out there who want to strike. Yeah. So when you ask RBN, how will we analyze the economy? What metrics will we use, CJ? I don't know. I would use workers' discontent as one of them. How angry? What is the feeling of the working class? Do they feel they got more spending money? Are they okay with their job? Are they ready to strike? Just for one example, I will also use happiness. Most Americans are prescribed and taking pills at record levels. Millions of Americans taking antidepressants, all these bullshit, and people think that's normal. The first time in human history. And then scientists tell you, the capitalist propagandists tell you, well, the reason why we're doing it is because your brain is broken. Your brain is broken. You can't comprehend that you live in the bullshit system without having a job that have any meaning. We have workers, and you have the society that constantly telling you that you aren't worth a living wage, and people are depressed, and people wonder why. Our society is garbage, not as great as people think. Happiness, the fact that so many Americans are unhappy on depression pills, don't have a clear trajectory in life, is another metric I would use. You guys see how this is completely different than how the establishment will view the economy? Talking about ridiculous nonsense like, oh man, you know the GDP is up? The only thing that matters is the GDP of your household, fam. CJ, you have anything else you want to add before I move on to the next one?
Yeah, no. No, I'm going to add to the story. I don't know if this is because I just want to add the fact of the Biden propaganda. It's not necessarily about the economy, though. So maybe, yeah. So let me add. So then I can add.
I think you can show that after the Guardian. I think.
Okay, then let's do that. Let's do that.
Because it's good that you got Biden propaganda, and I'm gonna show you can show an example of that. So this is, despite I just pulled two stories quickly, literally while I was live just now. I just typed in Biden economy. You already see multiple gaslighting stories about the economy. And now this is from The Guardian. This was written on Friday by Margaret Sullivan, where the Guardian is actively calling for more media propaganda, more media outlets to just straight up turn to pro-Biden propaganda. You want to know why, CJ? Because democracy is on the ballot. This is why I want to show you guys this first. Because if you guys think this memo wasn't released weeks before this article was approved, why you guys think that Cal Kalinske and Crystal Ball all of a sudden switched their politics, as we showed you guys? I told you guys weeks ago they was recruited somehow by some extreme power. And now this is the big pressure that comes from establishment media and people who want to be establishment media. Don't even pretend to be non-biased. You need to lie and be propagandist on behalf of the Democratic Party. And she's calling for the mainstream press to change their ways. So this is multiple layers of propaganda, CJ. Multiple layers. That's why she is writing this story, because in order to write the story, you had to pretend that the media is non-biased as it is right now. Right? So she's doing multiple tasks at once. Like, this is stuff that David Pakman and all these amateur propaganda, they can't pull off. Like, this, when I read this, like, God damn, I have to cover this because this is sophisticated, high-level propaganda, that this kind of shit that trick boomers, right? The people who still attach to the Democratic Party, right? And this is what she said. We have to be truthful, not neutral. I would make sure that you don't just give a platform to those who want to crash down the Constitution and democracy. And this is kind of a preview to the story we're going to do later, when people were melting down about Meet the Press, melting down about CNN Town Hall. So what she is calling for is a mass media blackout of the leading challenger for president. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. So it's our duty to blackout and not ever cover him ever. But look at these bullet points here. Well, she's complaining that media organizations are complaining about Biden's age. She said news organizations turn Biden's age, granted a legitimate concern, into equivalent of a scandal. And story after story, headline after headline, they emphasize not his administration's accomplishments, but the fact that he's 80. So she's immediately exposing herself as a DNC plan here. Because what she is saying that most media should be focusing on all the good stuff Biden has done. What does that sound like? That's exactly what Cal Kalinske was telling you guys, right? You guys see this memo that's going around? Don't focus on the negatives of Biden. Focus on the positives, the shit that actually doesn't matter in people's lives. I'm going to move on quickly because this article is very hilarious. And now she talked about the evidence-free Biden impeachment efforts of the House. So she's telling people in this paragraph, to sum it up, that we got to, as a media class, attack the impeachment probe and immediately say that's evidence free. We got to immediately say that the Republicans are being extremists for doing this, even though the Democrats did the same thing as Trump is president. And as Democrats are trying to impeach Trump, Democrats are trying to throw their leading opposition in prison. Which one is more extreme? But one more thing I want to read. I want to make sure I get to this quote, because this whole article is absurd. But this part right here says it all. I'm going to start from here. And media leaders will think hard about the big picture of what they're trying to get across to the public and whether it is fair and truthful. Imagine if the New York Times, among others, has stopped and done a course correction on their over-the-top coverage of the Clinton emails during the 2016 campaign. We might be living in a different world. Stop covering the corruption of the Democratic Party. That's what she's calling on. That's what she wants to do with Biden regarding the Biden corruption scandal. And I'll show you guys a clip of a Republican absolutely dismantling this media operative that was saying, "Oh, there's no evidence." He's like, "Nigga, there's 20 shell companies under Biden's name. You got whistleblowers. What the? You guys understand? Impeachment inquiry is exactly that, an inquiry."
Right.
So they were saying that they're saying that we're not even allowed to look into these very credible things. Like, why do Biden have 20 shell companies? No, don't look into that. You can't do inquiry. You can't learn stuff. Learning stuff is fascism. Learning stuff is dangerous. That's the legitimate argument that the extreme Democratic Party is making. But anyway, the next part is actually the worst part. And we can move on to this. The Nobel Prize winning economist, Paul Krugman.
Yeah, I saw that.
We covered this story, CJ. Pointing out last week that the media apparently has failed to communicate something that should be a huge asset for Biden. The U.S. current Goldilocks economy. So she's quoting Paul Krugman here, critiquing the media that the media is not they're not fanboys, sycophants of Biden the same way that Paul Krugman is. They see the article that Paul Krugman wrote, where Paul Krugman said Biden had the Goldilocks economy, and this reporter is saying that we should have more stories like that, CJ. Like
more lies.
2/3 of Americans are unhappy about the economy, despite reports that inflation is easing and unemployment is close to a 50-year low, according to a new Harris poll for The Guardian. So, guys, stop telling the truth about how American people are feeling pain. Stop telling the truth how the workers' spending power has decreased. Food insecurity, aka hunger, is at record levels. Millions are unemployed. Thousands and thousands and millions were kicked off their health care by Joe Biden. Right? Don't talk about none of that stuff. The media job is to do unapologetic propaganda on behalf of the Democratic Party, said by The Guardian. CJ, any last take on this? But I think that's
this is a perfect.
This is why I said the United States is the most propagandized country in the world. The Guardian's openly calling for state media, uncritical coverage of the Biden administration. But sorry, CJ, you can continue.
No, that's perfect. This is a perfect segue. It's so cool how we're able to just ad lib and add this, because I was trying to look for a place to insert this part, and this is perfect because what are you talking about? You're talking about Joe Biden propaganda. Now you're talking more Biden economics, but there's more. You know where else they're panicking about Joe Biden and the numbers? Young people. So guess who they decided to tap into to bring out the young people?
Way.
Debra Messing. Now, if you don't remember her from 2020, she was top shit lib along with Alyssa Milano and George Takei on Twitter when we were fighting.
Well, she blocked me a long time ago, and she like fell off the face of the earth. Like, she did me a great favor by blocking me because I haven't seen none of her shit. But if you guys don't know who she is the worst, absolute worst, unhinged class warrior on behalf of the establishment. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so along the lines of Biden propaganda, so they're trying a bunch of things, and this is one of them. She also has a podcast, I believe, that she's trying to do. But anyway, I have it in the point of the interview where they come and she basically says, Mika says, this is the most important election of our life. She literally says that. She's going to say that. And then she basically poses a question on, basically the answer is young people need to give up all the other things they believe in and just use this issue, which is they're using abortion. This should be your number one issue to vote, which means you should be voting for Joe Biden. Forget all your other issues, climate change, the war. That's her answer. So they're pushing this level of Biden propaganda on our youth. This is it. Listen to this.
Of building a coalition for I'm a Voter, and I dove in and we just sat on the floor and we just got to work. I mean, I've been working on campaigns since 2004. I have knocked on endless doors and done phone banking, and I really connected to the change that voters want to see. I'm a storyteller, and I really believe in the importance of narrative change. And so I want to use my experience to try and reimagine civic engagement and to inspire people to use their voices.
So, Debra, let me jump on that. What you just said, the 2024 election is shaping up to be, I don't know. I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. I mean, democracy's on the ballot. For you, what's the number one issue that is top of mind for this election cycle?
I don't think there's anything more urgent than abortion.
Now, let me say this, because the angle that we're taking with this is that we don't want you to think, I don't want you to think that I'm minimizing abortion. But when people can't fill their cars up, people can't put food on their table, people are having to move in with cousins on top of cousins. You're finding 8 and 9 people in a 2-bedroom house because they can't afford rent. I'm sorry. Other issues like abortion, even issues that are high on my priority, like defund the police, that's simply not a top priority. It is simply not. Go ahead.
Yeah, to that point, CJ, and I want Dr. Cornel West to understand this too. People need to understand that one issue does not cancel out other issues. So Dr. Cornel West said this to Jimmy. He said this to Sabby as well. He said, how do you feel about your LGBTQ brothers and sisters? What about women that's under threat to abortion? And remember, we said we are post-duopolist. Both parties serve evil. They may serve evil in different purposes. So your response to that is, yes, Republicans are off on this issue with abortion because they believe in government overreach. The same way they're going after our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. That's why the Democrats is bad. I mean, that's why the Republicans is bad. Now, Democrats is bad because they're coordinating with social media companies to crack down on free speech. They are building cop cities. Now, you build the fucking shit. Yeah, this is why Republicans is bad. Republicans is bad because of abortion. Now, Democrats are bad because they support war. So we supposed to ignore the fucking right side, the Democrat bad side because of the Republican bad side? That's absurd. And that's the argument that we got to tell these people. Yes, Republicans are bad on social issues. Yes, they are authoritarians regarding these issues because they believe the big government should be a nanny state and tell people what to do with their bodies and how they live their life. But the Democrats are too because they believe in mandates. So Republicans don't believe in your body, your choice. The Democrats don't believe in your body, your choice. You can't have one issue cancel other issues out. That's what it means to be morally consistent. But anyway, I'll spare you guys.
No, that's perfectly put, and let's continue the clip because the main focus of why I wanted to play this is what the other woman says about why you should be voting. Basically, forget all of your issues and make this your issue. It is such an argument that only benefits the ruling class. So let's listen.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do with this?
No, go ahead.
I'll let the video continue. But even if you vote Democrat, what's going to happen? If you vote Democrats, abortion rights are still gone in Missouri.
Right.
Like, you guys know abortion is gone here, essentially. And this is why liberals need to rethink their U.S. exceptionalism. This is why it makes no sense that they are pro-U.S. propagandists. You guys, you want to know who's allowed to have abortions? Russia. You know that authoritarian state? Russia, you're allowed to have abortion where the fuck you can have abortion. Now, I won't say wherever you fuck, that's misleading, but they allow abortions. In Missouri, that shit's gone. In Russia, they give you 180-day paid child maternity leave. So they give you a real choice. There's no choice in this country. So Russia say, hey, if you want to be a parent, we're going to give you 180 days. We're going to give you historic child maternity leave so you are able to do that. And if you're not ready, you can have an abortion. The United States say, in Missouri, for one, you're not allowed to plan your family and have an abortion. And then we're going to force you to have a kid. And then despite the fact that we're going to force you to have a kid, no child maternity leave. Get your ass back to work. I don't know who's going to take care of my kid. I don't have child makers. I can't afford child care. We don't give a fuck. We just want that child to be traumatized and we're going to recruit him to the army anyway. That's the plan. So what country is more unhinged? And this is why I challenge liberals to rethink their U.S. exceptionalist ideology. But anyway, I'm ranting. Go ahead, CJ.
No, those are some good rants, though. But let's get back to the clip. Let's listen.
It is incredibly alarming. It keeps me up at night. But I still have hope. 20 states have banned abortion or restricted the procedure earlier in the pregnancy than what was mandated by Roe v. Wade. And the fight for access is still happening in the courts. But in the last few months, we have seen a reversal of that trend at the state level. An example is what just happened in Ohio. So I think we have an incredible opportunity at the local, the state, the federal level to reverse this horrible encroachment on our bodies and to remind people of their power and to encourage them to get out and vote and to tell them how critical it is because actual lives are at stake.
Mandana, you've said that voter participation is one of the few direct measures that we have for social cohesion, the health of our society, and how we're connected as a community. Tell us about that. And do you have a call to action for our
viewers? Call to action is what we want to listen to. The call to action.
That was actually based on so many incredible studies that have come out. And I guess it does make sense, right? I think voting is one of the most impactful ways that we show up for members of our community. Voting was never meant to be this singular self-interested thing where we only vote on the issues that impact us when they impact us.
You notice a trend, Nick, that the professional managerial class keeps describing voting like this is not about anything for your community. You have to vote for somebody else. You notice that the professional managerial class I'm hearing this more and more and more. But go ahead, Nick, if you were going to say something.
Yeah, once again, how does that serve us? Like, whenever you guys see them, these liberals say something, you should be saying, like, man, my immediate reaction is to do the exact opposite. But who's repeating this? People like Sam Cedar and the progressive left. Emma Vigeland. Voting is not about your feelings. It's not about accomplishing anything. It's about a civic duty to give more power to our oppressors for some reason. God knows how they rationalize it. But this is what liberals and Democrats do. This is what movements go to die in the Democratic Party. They die in the Democratic Party because Democrats, they ease up these people like, yeah, we should have health care, we should have workers' rights, we need in the war, we need to do all these things. Then they give them badass fucking advice how to do it. They purposely, and now Bernie Sanders and progressives are more happy to fulfill that role. But go ahead, CJ, you can continue.
Yeah, so let me play her full answer, and then we can move to the one more clip, unless you had another receipt here.
Measures that we have for social cohesion, the health of our society, and how we're connected as a community. Tell us about that. And do you have a call to action for our viewers?
Yeah, thank you. That was actually based on so many incredible studies that have come out. And I guess it does make sense, right? I think voting is one of the most impactful ways that we show up for members of our community. Voting was never meant to be this singular self-interested thing where we only vote on the issues that impact us when they impact us, right? Like we're supposed to vote for the issues and freedoms of our friends and our neighbors and our community.
Did you want to stop?
Citation needed. Because she said voting has never been this thing where we vote for our interests. Citation needed. Citation needed. Because CJ, when have the rich, when have the ruling class ever voted their power away? Like, oh, this is something that we should do. We should do this and get rid of our power because it's the good of our society. Absolutely not. The ruling class is laser focused on the class war, and they will never move and budge an inch. Even when they got enough money where they can live hundreds and thousands of lives on, still won't give an inch. It's the workers who are supposed to give an inch. It's insane ideology, but let's continue.
Abortion should be an issue that men vote on. You know, Debra worked on equal marriage for 10 years. And, you know, when you think about this backdrop of rampant misinformation, the polarization of people on social media.
Why is it people in community for abortion rights, why is it that you can frame abortion that men should be this should be a top issue for men, but when people on RBN say defund the police should be a top issue for white people, why is that a problem? I'm just saying, like, why do issues that impact us disproportionately we're not to talk about that, but men are supposed to do this. I'm not saying that's not the right answer. I'm just simply, why isn't the same application to things that affect us? Why isn't that the same application? Because these same people who are saying, hey, we believe the same thing. We might not agree on some things, but this, come on, they're telling us to have solidarity, not unity. They want us to come, regardless of what our beliefs. They want us to say, so but they don't return that to us.
Yeah,
these people in community, they don't return this standing with you on an issue that is a priority for you, not necessarily for me. Stand with me for that, but you're not willing to stand with us on anything.
That's such a great point. That's a point that you guys have to remember. And that's why I have disdain for the progressives, Bernie Sanders, and Democrats in general. There's no conversation. There's no relationship here. They demand unity. They demand us to be unified with you. Oh, come on, CJ. Stop causing drama. Stop calling these people out. CJ, they demand unity without giving solidarity. So these same people that want RBN to tone down, for instance, nowhere to be found with RBN mutual aid events. Nowhere to be found at Worker Strike Back, where I gave a speech on. So instead of reaching out by helping us in our activities, and that's how they generally should treat the left, instead of doing that, they're like, no, you fall in line behind us. Behind our pro-police policy, behind our pro-military industrial complex policies. But that's a great point, TJ. Let's continue.
Yeah, let me just let her finish her answer. I just don't want to cut her off because she may say a couple of good things there, but let's listen.
You know, the lack of trust and faith right now in political institutions and information, we are more than ever going to need to rely on trusted resources like our friends to get us information.
You hear the ruling class, and understand what is being said on Morning Joe is for and by the ruling class. Understand that. Listen to what she just said here. I'm going to rewind it and see if you caught it. 15 seconds.
Misinformation, the polarization of people on social media, you know, the lack of trust and faith right now in political institutions and information, we are more than ever going to need to rely on trusted resources like our friends.
They're saying basically, we understand. We see the polls. What we're saying in these things, it's not having zero effect. So we need to propagandize regular Americans to go propagandize their friends. That's what she's saying.
Yep. And that worked for a very long time. It's still working for the Gen Z for Change and Sunrise movement people we get to here soon. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and I think she finishes up in 10 seconds or less. And let's listen here.
To get us information. And so I do think this is an important moment to just reflect on the people that you care about and how you can do more every single day to show up for those people and to advocate for their rights. Because like democracy isn't something that just happens once every 4 years. It really is every single day.
Register a friend.
Register a friend is what it's like. This is
they're giving us homework.
Like, hey, yeah. Yeah, we know you. We know Joe Biden. We can't get you to vote for Joe Biden or you merit. So peer pressure your friends to come out and for Joe Biden. I wish somebody would. Hey, let's go vote for Joe. I wish one of my family members would do that.
That would cause massive relational harm. The relational harm that nigga like, nigga, let's vote for Biden. Never been that way. Again, I'm lucky enough where I'm from an apolitical family, so that shit is completely foreign to me, right? The idea that a homie would be like, come on, Nick, let's go out and vote for Biden together. Check yourself for life, fam.
Like I don't have nothing to do. But all right, let me do a couple announcements. I'm really excited about our merch. So go ahead, Nick, if you needed to take a break.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our merch. So let me show that.
Yeah,
let me show that first. Fire. So when you click merch, this is let me take this other thing down. My bad, everybody. I gotta do that again. I had a pop-up thing. My computer's really going haywire. I got a bunch of pop-ups coming up. All right, so let me share that again. Yeah, go ahead. Let me share that again. This is our merch shop now, and there we go. All right, so we got the mugs. Let's go all the way down to shirts and sweaters. This is the thing that most people want to know about. So if you didn't know, on our website, we have launched our merch tab or merchandise tab. Let me look for the website link here for everybody to see. All right, there we go. All right, so I got the website scrolling at the bottom. The very first drop down menu hyperlink on the right, coming from the right, is our RBN merch, and it takes you here. You can see we have the regular logos, and then let's say if you click this tank, you could also look at the different colors that we offer. Really like that blue. I like different sort of abnormal colors for certain things, but I do like that black. And then you can scroll over it and see the emblem up close. So that's really cool. Let's go back down to some more merchandise. I'm going to show you a little bit more. There's my favorite, and I guess it's your favorite too, Nick. I know you can hear even though if you're not here. My favorite is the NATO. It's the NATO gear.
That's a quick fan favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Is the NATO gear. It's simple, it's classic, but I like the unserious just ones nice.
Too. I'm personally biased, but I like the unserious ones too. But the NATO is a terrorist organization. Bro, I definitely get one though. That's fire, bro. That's fucking fire.
Yeah. So just wanted to shout that out. We're really excited about this because we've been trying to launch our merchandise on our website for a good while, so we finally got it done. The other thing, Patreon, we have 5 tiers on our Patreon. You can also create a tier where you can pay as little as $2 a month. So if you want to become a Patreon member, there it is scrolling at the bottom. We're also happen to be having a fundraiser for our one and only employee. That is Erin. She does our graphics. She does our videos. Here is the graphic for that. So if you're able to contribute to the GoFundMe, please do. Nick, if you want to start with the next story, we can get into the next story, sir.
So the modern progressive climate movement completely lost me. They lost me. I explained this a long time ago. You guys know the first time I actually organized was with Sunrise Movement, because there's not a lot of progressive organizations out here. And I heard that Casey Sunrise was killing it, so I went to one of their events one day. So one of the first events I went to. And I think there's real value in caring for Mother Earth and our environment. One of the few sacred dudes that we have. And I'm not even religious, fam. That's why it's even more confusing when religious people don't have this opinion, because apparently Earth is God's creation, and this is why Republicans and conservatives used to be conservatives. Conservatives supposed to be conserving the Earth, like the old school Republicans and right wing fundamentalists was hardcore environmentalists, because God told us to protect the Earth. Once again, I'm not even religious, but if you're religious, you got the opposite approach. It's completely ridiculous to me, right? But I still have even though I'm not religious, I deeply care about like our role in this shit. You know, our role in the universe. Like, how can we better ourselves as a species? Like, these things I care about, even without religion, may confuse religious people. I believe that we are here to guard and protect the Earth. Like, that's something that we should take pride on. It's our home. It's what we evolved in. And anything that we can possibly do to do that is something worth pursuing. But the modern climate justice movement lost me completely, because the modern climate justice movement is nothing but PMC class war, where they want ordinary working class people to make all the sacrifices as they make none. It's nothing but virtue signaling, weak bullshit that benefit green capitalism. It's absolute garbage, and no one, not the Republicans, not capitalists, no one did more damage to the modern climate change movement than these activist frauds. These people who pretend they actually give a fuck about stuff, and then they vote for the people who cause the climate crisis. So look at this cringe. This is the Sunrise movement.
Nick, when we were gonna do this segment, I had no idea you was gonna slay everybody, these clowns. I thought you was about to just slay freaking AOC. Because I saw this and I had the same reaction. I was like, how dare the Sunrise Movement? You guys should be barred from attending that event. That's what I was thinking. But go ahead, sir. We're thinking along the same lines.
I see this, and I told you guys I led with that. Even I already see some right wingers in the comments. Who cares about the environment? I do. No one would change my mind on that. To me, it's absurd not to, right? But that's why I'm furious at these frauds, because the Sunrise Movement told people to vote for Joe Biden, and they're going to do it again. Who is the Nord Stream pipeline bomber? And the Nord Stream pipeline bomb was the largest emitting of carbon emissions in modern human history, probably of all time, CJ. I'm going to show you guys that receipt here soon. But this is their performative bullshit that does nothing but turn the working class away from a very serious issue. The same way that identity politics, virtue signaling liberals piss me off, and I call them out on their race bullshit because it actually hurts me who actually care about improving racial relations. So we got to call out the frauds who abuse and weaponize race that serve, even though they serve the establishment. That's the same thing that these frauds do. Listen to this fucking cringe and tell me whether you want to immediately join their movement or does this repel you? In the comments, let me know.
What? I can't think. Oh, Jesus.
We gonna be all right. We gonna be all right. 2.0, baby. We gonna be all right. This is We Gonna Be All Right 2.0. Right here. Like,
Nick, this is why the left, you can let it play. This is why the left, why is the left weak? Because this is it right here. This.
We gonna be all right.
Because these same people are gonna go vote for Joe Biden because of Trump.
Yes. That's exactly the point, fam. And look at the sign here. The sign is the most hilarious part. You guys see the sign? Let me pause it. I didn't vote for this climate disaster. I didn't vote for fossil fuels. Ma'am, yes, you did.
If you can't disconnect your vote for Joe Biden for this disaster that he's bringing upon us, you cannot disconnect your vote like you're trying to do. And like that lady is saying we can do in our previous segment, like Emma Vigeland also said, disconnecting our vote from no. This falls right on your lap, ma'am.
Right upon you. I didn't vote for the climate disaster. I didn't vote for fossil fuel. It's almost like they're trying to convince themselves. Fam. I would love to have a psychologist examine this. Like, if you don't have massive guilt for voting for the Nord Stream pipeline bomb, or the person who expanded fracking, the person who approved the Willow projects, there's something wrong with you. Let's listen. This short clip. Let's listen to it one more time. It's absolutely this is why.
This is hard to watch. Or listen to. More listen to.
This is how you build a movement, baby. I believe. Remember the term toxic positivity, fam?
Yes.
You have Biden improving the Willow project. You had the Nord Stream pipeline going off. You have the extreme weather events, and these privileged fucking kids. I believe that we will win. The fuck is this, fam? You guys wonder why you're repellent of the working class? This shit.
I had no idea that this segment was gonna be like this. I had no idea this segment was gonna be like this.
Nigga, there are black people in Flint with poison water, man. They got kids who are deformed, and you talking about we're gonna win. We're gonna talk about we're gonna win, nigga. We are poison right now, and these deeply unserious clowns are holding a prep rally. That's essentially a glorified DNC event.
Now, do people understand what we're saying?
Movement. Go ahead.
Because let me say this. Do people understand what we're saying? Why we are making fun of this is because we wholeheartedly believe in protest. But is this real protest? Is this people went out and got permits so that they can do this? Got permission from you get what I'm saying? Like, the point that I'm making is this real protest to make change? Or is this for pictures and to make you feel good about yourself, how you're not going far enough to get the actual change you need. Go ahead.
To answer your question, and I was going to hint to this later, and this is my boy Nico House said, I'll give him credit for this. A protest isn't real when you don't see cops busting shit up. You have the establishment writing amazing pieces about them. Here's one of them. Thousands march to demand the end of fossil fuels ahead. Many of these stories, all these stories writing glory pieces on them. Democrats attending. You got Democrats like, yeah, I'm at the climate protest.
Yeah.
If they are that comfortable with you, you are not fucking a threat. You're not fucking threat. You got a prep rally, no tear gas anywhere. And this is a Democrat DNC approved event. They have fucking Democrats at the event.
When I saw that, Nick, because I saw a bunch of other videos, like more specifically, I saw Cornel West video. I was like, okay, this event looked like it was cracking. I didn't see the Sunrise videos yet. Then I see AOC. I'm like, what kind of? Because I could have covered this yesterday. I was like, what kind of shit is this? I'm like, I'm not covering this with AOC there. And then I see all the backlash she's getting. Go ahead, Nick.
There's no reason for Dr. Cornel West not to be there. He's part of the Green Party. Yeah. We actually care about the environment. He calling out the military-industrial complex. And there were members of the Green Party that was there calling out the military-industrial complex. I've seen a few pictures of them having signs calling out the military-industrial complex. So you had one side that had Green Party people. Then you had the DNC-approved people. The DNC-approved wing, where there was no mention of the Nord Stream pipeline bombing at all by none of them. No mention of any of that. You have a Democrat, someone who's complicit with the climate crisis, AOC, with her votes, that has given a speech. Now, I want to take you guys to memory lane here. Through memory lane. Do you guys remember the anti-war rally? The Rage Against the War Machine rally? And there was a bunch of progressives that was saying, why do you guys have an anti-war rally where you guys have people who are pro-war there? Even though they calling for disbanding NATO and for peace in Ukraine, but they classified them as pro-war, right? So I posed a question, and I want you guys to ask this question. Why are the same people who made a career, literally all they talk about, the only thing they would focus on was attacking the Rage Against the Machine war rally. That's all they spend their time on, right? Because they had bad speakers at the event. They're speakers I disagree with, so we got to smear this event 24/7. Not only are they not criticizing this climate rally, they are propping it up uncritically. So my question is, and I'm glad you put it in the title, why is AOC speaking at this event? Why do you have Democrats at this event who supporting the Ukraine war? So you guys took something that's supposed to be a serious issue and turned it into a Democratic Party campaign event. This is absolutely disgusting. Now listen to this nonsense, because listen to the crowd reaction. Imagine if AOC went to an RBN event, went to a real working class activist protest. Nigga, she'll get tomatoes thrown at her on the stage. She'll get booed off. Heckled. Why do you vote for the Ukraine war? Listen to these fucking sycophants treat AOC like she's a rock star celebrity.
That we organize out of.
Let me turn it up first. Hey, let me look.
Hope. We organize out of commitment. We organize out of love. We organize out of the beauty of our future. And we will not give up. We will not let go. We will not allow cynicism to prevail. We will not allow our vision of a collaborative economy, of dignity for working people, of honoring the Black, brown, indigenous, white working class. We will not give up. That we organize out of hope.
So you see, CJ, how they turned this shit into a DNC campaign rally? And isn't it interesting they always have these rallies demanding action on climate change around the time of election, CJ? You guys think that's a coincidence? So you have AOC, the person who endorsed the Nord Stream pipeline bomber and voted for the Ukraine war, which have negative consequences for the environment, giving a speech at the climate change event. Where are the people who criticized the anti-war rally for doing the same thing? And listen to the crowd. I'll play the beginning again. Listen to these shameless Gen Z Sunrise Movement Democratic Party sycophants, people who treat politicians like they're rock stars. This is embarrassing. Listen, I want you guys to focus more on the crowd this time. Listen.
That we organize out of hope. We organize out of commitment. We organize out of love. We organize out of the beauty of our future. And we will not give up. We will not let go. We will not allow cynicism to prevail. We will not allow our vision of a collaborative economy, of dignity for working people, of honoring the Black, brown, indigenous, white working class. We will not.
This shit that is cringe to all of us. I literally see the comments. You guys are being tortured right now. So this shit that is cringe to us, the crowd, the Sunrise Movement, the Gen Z climate frauds are losing their mind. Oh my God, it's AOC. Oh my God. Nigga, they acting like they had a fucking Beyonce concert right now. What the fuck is this? We got to organize for hope. We got to organize for freedom. We got to organize with the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. We got to organize with Zelensky. The fact that she was even allowed to speak shows that these people are not serious about what they mean. The fact that they don't care about the Ukraine war shows that the climate activists are unserious. AOC supporters are unserious. If you are not like me, who spend most of his time talking about foreign policy, focused on the Ukraine war, the escalating war with the Chinese, because we care about the climate, you are unserious. And you're doing the bidding of the establishment. This is why AOC should have been banned for speaking at any climate event, any climate organization that is legitimizing AOC and giving her time to give a campaign speech should be chastised by the working class. Ruthlessly disconnected. There gotta be massive consequences for what these sellouts done. This is what AOC voted for, guys. I'm gonna explain to you guys this. The U.S. pledged billions to fight climate change. Then came the Ukraine war. The United States, and this is because of the Paris Climate Accords here, which I'm one of the only people on the left that did a breakdown on how the climate accords was bullshit. Literally at the beginning of my time as a political commentator, was one of the first things I highlighted. One of the most important aspects of the Paris Climate Accord was that the most rich, populous countries, the people with the most wealth, they finance poor and impoverished countries in order to accomplish the green agenda, right? The Paris Climate Accords was trash because that funding mechanism was literally never set up. So when people say, well, we got to vote for Joe Biden because of the Paris Accords, what? The Paris Accords was trash that was never followed. The funding mechanism was never set up, and only one of the 5 biggest countries in the Paris Accords was compliant in the first place. Now listen to this. The United States owes billions of dollars in climate funding to developing countries because of the Paris Climate Accord. But the war in Ukraine is delaying payments and slowing down U.S. progress to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And that has leaders of low-lying, less wealthy nations feeling frustrated and forgotten. So you climate frauds, you Sunrise Movement sellouts, you guys have invited someone to speak at your climate movement who literally voted against what you're fighting for. That is directly what her Ukraine war vote accomplished. She directly endorsed the Nord Stream pipeline bomber. I'm gonna show you guys this tweet that lived rent-free in my head ever since I seen it. And until AOC addresses this question, she shouldn't be invited to any left climate event where she got dismantled by Marjorie Taylor Greene of all people. AOC, what is the carbon footprint of the proxy war with Russia you voted to fund? Crickets. CJ, AOC loves her some Republican beef. She loves having these Twitter exchanges with Marty Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and all these people. But then Marty Taylor Greene tweeted shit out, nigga. She was like, oh, nigga, I ain't seen. Nigga, let's log off for the day, nigga. I'm done. I'm done, nigga. So Marty Taylor Greene challenged AOC to a debate. Do you guys remember this? Marty Taylor Greene challenged AOC to a debate on climate, and AOC declined. What? And remember, we roasted her about this a long time ago. You declined a chance to have a debate that will be viewed by millions, where you can expose climate denialism and help spread awareness of your agenda. You declined the opportunity. I will take anyone from our anyone from our community against Marty Taylor Greene in a debate, and we will dismantle her. But AOC runs because she knows she's a fraud, and she knows that Marty Taylor Greene would dismantle her because she'll point out her hypocrisies like this. These hypocrisies harm the climate justice movement and environmentalism, as I explained at the beginning of the segment, I care about. Right, CJ?
This is how you get those people that was in our comments earlier, the conservative that was talking about, because he's basing what he sees climate activists do like AOC, Nick. That's what he's seeing, or the person, I don't know if it was a he. The person was seeing, you see AOC, what do you mean climate activists and you're supporting war? What? This climate activist shit is a scam. That's what happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, and people will say, oh, you care about environment. What you put, that's green imperialism, that's green capitalism. Because people like AOC and the fake Democratic operatives turn environmentalism to a joke. I have people on the right, I have people who are libertarian leaning, I have people that are not as radical as me who listen to me and hear me talk about the environment because I talk about the military industrial complex. I talk about how the top 1% is responsible for 70% of the carbon emissions. So how are you talking about environmentalism if you're not talking about eating the rich, if you're not talking about class war? Class war is the only thing that you should care about when it comes to the environment. But meanwhile, the modern progressive movement is like, you got to stop eating meat. You got to stop using straws. You guys got to stop driving cars. You got to see how they force the working class to make sacrifices as AOC voting for war. AOC voting for war. They supporting Democrats who are spreading public drilling and fracking. But they want you to make sacrifices. AOC can't make sacrifices for a relational harm. But we got to make sacrifices and stop eating meat, fam. Because
let me show you. Let me insert 2 receipts here because it's important. Because, Nick, what do we say? What literally this? You can't make this up. You have the fossil fuel industry. It's this whole thing in fossil fuels. What's fossil fuels? Gasoline in some forms. So let's bring up this receipt right here. Now, this is the part where we always talk about. There's no way you can be a climate activist and also support the Ukraine war and wars like it. That's simply something you can't do. And let me show you this receipt to prove the point that I'm making. Here is Forbes, the world's biggest fuel consumers. Guess what's on here? Abrams tanks. You know, the tanks that we're sending to, the tanks that we're sending over there. Now, let me read just a snippet here. Army vehicles get better mileage, but Beto Bailey isn't exactly riding around in a Prius. An armored division, listen to this, an armored division of the Army, can use as much as, listen to this, Nick, 600,000 of gasoline a day, sir.
Wow.
A day.
What?
A day. Did you hear me? And look at this next sentence. A tank like the M1 Abrams, that's the exact one the United States is sending, and they've got other countries to send. Guess at their mileage, Nick, 0.6 miles per gallon. 0.6 miles per gallon. So you cannot disconnect war, militarism. You cannot disconnect that from the fight for climate. So how are we boasting about AOC being at an event to speak, and she was on fire? I saw one of them said, AOC is on fire. You mean she's setting the planet on fire?
I saw that.
What fire? What fire are you talking about? And I got one more receipt here to go a little more in. Yeah, go a little more in depth, and then I'll pass it to you after this. Go a little more in depth. We covered this. You and I covered this article when it happened, when they sent when they sent tanks. And I just remember, I was like, wow, I remember that article. Let me see if I can find it, because they gave a more specific number of what it takes. And here we go. Modern tanks need vast logistic networks to arm and support them. A single M1 Abrams tank consumes, look at this, 60 gallons of fuel per hour, Nick. Per hour, sir. Per hour. But I'm at the climate event talking about I'm against climate. Let's fix this. While I vote for vehicles that take 60 gallons of gasoline, fossil fuels, in other words, per hour. Just unserious. It's unserious to me.
And they have no criticism of the Ukraine war at all. And people wonder why I have such venom towards Bernie Sanders. Like I even shocked Dr. Cornel West and Marianne Williamson when they hear my criticism of Bernie. And many like allies and friends of the network hear my criticism, like who's still like Bernie adjacent. They're like, come on, man, why are you so mean? Because they're selling a fraud and dooming our climate by voting for the Ukraine war. You guys claim you care about it? Do you have something else before I share mine? You have something else, CJ?
No, go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
The fact anyone who endorses Joe Biden should be banned from attending climate event. And that is not dramatic at all. That is considered unbelievably uncivil, unfair among the professional managerial class, CJ. But we are done playing with the professional managerial class rules, aren't we?
Yep.
If you endorse Joe Biden, you are not allowed to attend climate events. And any climate event that invites you, let alone having you speak, we should consider fraudulent and enemies of the working class. The Nord Stream pipeline leaks are catastrophic for the climate. And I want you guys to understand the perspective here that we're dealing with when we talk about Joe Biden being the largest eco-terrorist, the biggest eco-terrorist in human history. Noam Chomsky said that we need to vote for Joe Biden over Trump because of the environment, fam. Because Noam Chomsky said, and I actually kind of agree with them in a sense, the people responsible for the climate crisis, he had this long expose. He talked about this a long time ago, how they were the most evil. They did the most damage to humanity. So we have to vote against Republicans because these people are going to be responsible for more dead than any empire ever. Joe Biden is the largest eco-terrorist because I want to show you guys this. I want Noam Chomsky to really digest this and people will agree with his perspective. And yes, I'm salty because Noam Chomsky is that guy who gives liberals a talking point against me every 4 years. Like, oh, you think you know so much more than Noam Chomsky? Noam Chomsky said, vote for Biden. You think you know better? Yeah, I do on this issue.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, on this issue, I do. So let's put the Nord Stream gas leak in perspective. So in the Nord Stream leak, you had 190 kilotons of methane. Where the fuck that measurement is? Kiloton? It's been a long time since I've been in school. But that's kilo. Whenever I see kilo, I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot. 190 kilotons of methane. Now, in comparison, the second highest leak ever, CJ, had 97 kilotons of methane. So the Nord Stream pipeline is almost 2 times worse in terms of methane leaks than the second worst leak ever, according to this article. And now I want you guys to understand something, because what do they talk about, CJ? They talk about greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide, right? Methane, which accounts for more than 90% of the gas in the Nord Stream pipeline, 90% of the gas in the Nord Stream pipeline was methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas that has more than 80 times more climate impact on than carbon dioxide. You gotta see, I'm not a scientist. I'm trying, right? But 80, based on what I'm reading here, 80 times more potent to the climate crisis that methane compared to carbon dioxide, and that is the Nord Stream pipeline. This is what Joe Biden is responsible for. People like scientists are still wrapping their minds around, CJ, the environmental impact of the Nord Stream bombing. We don't know yet. I read opinions. They're like, man, we don't know how we're even going to clean this shit up. We don't know what the long-term effects of this unheard of environmental event. But AOC endorsing Biden and climate events inviting Biden supporters to their event. So once again, I read these numbers and they blow my mind, and we still don't know what the long-term effects is going to be. But this is why I have zero tolerance for the modern climate movement, because they are a movement that essentially hold DNC campaign rallies, as you've seen above, and we showed you guys before. If you're not anti-imperialist, if you're not calling for the prosecution of the Nord Stream pipeline bomber, let alone endorsing him, let alone voting for him like Crystal and Cal, I view, remember CJ, what we said again, this is my last part, right? I'm going to treat Biden voters the same way they would treat us if we came out for Trump. Like, can you guys imagine if we came out with a video like, this is why black people need to support Trump? Nigga, everyone in the professional managerial class will have a video talking about how we told you guys RBN was secret Trumpers. Everyone. Nigga, Sam Cedar, they would call Voss and Simon, like, yeah, I told you RBN secret Trump supporters. So in that hypothetical universe, we should get roasted, CJ. Like, if we did something like that, we should get roasted. So I'm treating Biden supporters the same way they would treat us if we supported Trump, because Biden is the biggest eco-terrorist of all time, the most anti-black politician in the modern era, and a threat to peace and human rights. And so we should speak to his supporters the same way we speak to Republicans, right? The same way I will speak to a George W. Bush Jr. voter is how I'm treating Biden voters from now on. Anyway, that's my last thought. CJ, anything else you want to say to wrap this segment up? And I got my 2 segments out of the way, so I'll pass to you.
Yeah, so I'm adding to the segment. It's a slightly different segment because we're gonna go to the positive part of the same rally, which is the Cornel West spoke there. So let's cover that, and it's a very short clip to show here. So let's do that, and then we'll get to the other segments here. So Cornel West was there. Of course, there was actually a lot of people there who we follow that was posting pictures and stuff that they were taking with Cornel West. But let's just show a couple of videos. It's very short, but what I've heard, I haven't been able to find a full version of his speech yet. But so I'll show a couple of clips just to show what he was there and what he was saying. This first one is a minute long.
So it's the end of praying for each other, praying for each other. Yeah, we getting ready to continue to march, and we're marching for what? In solidarity with the planet and with poor and working people who are being devastated by the organized greed of the fossil fuel industry. We have many folk here who are marching in the name of God. We got other folk marching in the name of justice, but we're all together in solidarity.
Dr. West,
how you doing, my brother?
Cornel West is a person sort of like Case, where he can move in so many different spaces. He can move in radical spaces. He can move in professional managerial class spaces. But this is the reason why, you know what I mean? Him showing up to this event is good from him, his perspective, what he's doing. But the PMCs, they love, they love him. He's a person that PMC can love, and more radicals like us can also like some of the things that he says. But if you look at the crowd, I'm just saying, like, I mean, this is one shot. Doesn't look like too many poor people are there. I'm just saying, doesn't look like there's a lot of poor people there.
The only thing I would say, at the risk of pushback, is the reason why I say I don't think it's a bad thing for Cornel West to be here, because I hated the message of the protest. So we need someone who can frame these issues correctly, someone who can call out militarism, someone who can call out Democrats. So I have no problems with us hijacking actions. Like there's a big event. You gotta know like 50,000 people attended these things. Yeah. So that's why I think it's good. I see people already like, man, Dr. Cornel West shouldn't go to a DNC event. No, you show up and you correct the record on this event, right? And even if you look at the audience, it don't look like Dr. Cornel West general audience. But what is our job as a third-party movement, right? Yeah. Our job is to bring those people over.
Expand.
So if we want Dr. Cornel West to talk to Trumpers, because I want Dr. Cornel West to go to Trump country. Doesn't that apply to Dr. Cornel West going to liberal country as well? So I actually don't have criticism on Dr. Cornel West on it. That's just me. CJ, I'll let you can have your opinion.
No. And hopefully nobody took, because I didn't think I said anything about Cornel West. So I think this is a good thing. Yeah. So I don't have any. This applies to a lot of things. People who shows up to these events with the right policy and the right stance, I have no issue. It's people who show up to these events to rah that I'm fighting while you're doing something opposite to the cause that you're talking about. So that's the critique, because we're going to have people that's going to take this out of context. Sure. Vanguard in particular are probably going to take this. Look at it. RBN is against. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're just simply saying this is a group of unserious people, not necessarily a rank and file, but some of the people that are putting on some of this.
I think I made my argument clear.
Yeah, it's just very PMC. These people are dead. Sunrise Movement are going to then tell people to vote for Joe Biden, who's the biggest eco-terrorist. So it's a problem. But the good side of this, to the point that I was making, is Dr. West being there, is him being able to speak, is him. This is almost like a campaign event. If they didn't make this a campaign event, that would be bad for his campaign, because he should be reaching out, should be talking to people, should be bringing over people, because these are DNC people. If you can bring some radical DNC people over to your side, by all means, but in no way should we be pandering in our policy and in the way we speak about things to them. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that's my final words on it. Dr. Cornel West is not me, right? But I wish he called out AOC there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what he said, so I can't criticize him because I won't play that clip because I don't know if I saw that.
Oh, did I play it? Oh, I didn't even play it. My bad. I didn't even play it.
Yeah, we played the clip. I don't know what he said, so once again, I want my criticism to be very fair and very legit. So if I see his messaging was off there, I will criticize that, but I don't know what he said. But I would love to see Dr. Cornel West being like, "Why is AOC here? She voted for the Ukraine war. Do you guys know how bad the Ukraine war for the environment?" That's what we should be doing at these events, right? So I've seen people, and the reason I say that because I've seen people on Twitter criticize Dr. Cornel West for being there. That I don't think that's the right criticism. We need to be there. Like we need to be there to pull as many people on our side as possible. The same way I want him to be at Trump country. If Dr. Cornel West showed to like a right-wing protest and he start preaching the truth, will I be mad at him? No. So I wouldn't be mad at him for doing this. That's just my personal opinion. But go ahead, CJ. Let's play the clip because I actually haven't seen this. So I'll be interested to see what he said.
Let's listen. It's only 25 seconds. Let's listen.
This is the blues all the way down. But we all are blues men and blues women because the response of catastrophe is to never allow it to have the last word. We have solidarity in the face of catastrophe. Let us march together. Let us fight together. Let us laugh together. Let us dance together.
I just wish, with the amount of people there, I just wish there was one speaker that stood up and so these thousands of people can hear somebody say the Ukraine war is counter to this climate action we're doing here, guys. So if you're for climate, you can't be for Ukraine war. Just that notion has to be put out there with a crowd like this.
Now, this is only a 20-second clip, so we don't know what he said. But I'm just saying what we need Dr. Cornel West to say. This is not necessarily a criticism, because I don't know what he said. But we need the Green Party activist, the Green Party candidate, to lead with the military-industrial complex shit. Lead with the criticisms of the Democrats because you're running against the Democrats, right? So you call out the fact that the Democrat Party is complicit with this crisis and that we shouldn't vote for the Democrats. You need to do anything possible to pull those people away from the two-party duopoly, and that's what you should use your platform to do there. And I personally, once again, Dr. Cornel West is not that confrontational. But if I was a candidate, I would call her AOC. Why not? She's not endorsing you. They're not supporting you. She already called you. She already said that you were risk getting us Trump. You go there. You give a speech. Say, why is AOC speaking? You guys know AOC is complicit with this. And then guess what will happen, CJ? If you said that, woo, we got a story.
Yes.
And remember, the corporate media, CJ, they want drama. They want drama more than anything. So they're going to see this clip of Dr. Cornel West calling out AOC, and guess what? They're going to cover it. There's going to be panels over it. TYT's going to melt down. David Doe's going to melt down about it. And that's the coverage you need as a third-party candidate. Even through controversy. You want Democrats making videos complaining about you. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that Dr. Cornel West didn't do this because I don't know what he said. But in that clip, it seemed like he just had more of the same rah, rah, rah unity message. But I wanted to see him take it to the Democratic Party because not only are you telling the truth when you do that, it's actually a strategically styled move. The headline, Dr. Cornel West directly calls out AOC. Imagine how many people would clip that video and be like, oh my, holy shit, Dr. Cornel West calls AOC out at the event. You probably had AOC sycophants boo, AOC sycophants like, oh my God, Dr. Cornel West called out Queen AOC. Nigga, we are generating buzz, fam. You guys see how that's a no-lose situation? So I haven't seen the clip. I haven't heard anyone say it, but I really wish he did that because it will help this campaign, right? But anyway, CJ, that's my last thoughts. I'll pass to you.
Yeah, and if we because like I said, I would look for it if we so happen to come across it. I'm sure we can cover it in the future. Maybe tomorrow we have the post-duopoly. So if by chance we get a hold of more footage, a longer clip of his speech, we will absolutely add it into the post-duopoly show. And by the way, that's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Make sure you tune in. We got the post-duopoly show. I'll do a couple of announcements, Nick, and then we'll get to the next story. Let's make sure we hit that subscribe button or go over and subscribe to our Substack and make sure you're getting notifications when we go
I'm gonna read
live.
The super chat we got
Go ahead. Let's do that super chat, and then I'll read one more announcement.
I just saw a few comments. I want to read them so we don't get buried too much. Thank you for the super sticker biting. We got 2 from Aiden. Thank you for 999. What do y'all have to say to COVID conscious and disabled folks who have been left by the wayside in protest actions because no one masks or care about their own community safety anymore?
What do we have to
if
say
it's someone, like,
about
I'm
that?
confused.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, CJ. Do you want to take it on?
What I was gonna say, because I think I think the president. What do y'all have to say about COVID conscious and disabled folks who have been left behind the wayside for protection? So this is a person who believes that we should have more sort of safety measures in place because COVID is still going on, and they're speaking to some in the disabled community who absolutely does believe this. We actually had her on. I think JB and I had her on. Michelle, who's a disabled activist, she was on our summit, and she kind of brought up something similar to this, that we have to remember are disabled people who have more comorbidities, so they're still susceptible to some of the things that could happen. So this is a concern, and I don't know what's the right answer to straddle this line. Go ahead.
I just have a question. I'm asking, what do you propose? Because my general reaction to people who have to worry about COVID, like comorbidities, preconditions, you should do everything possible to protect you and your family, right? If you believe that mask is the answer to that, you mask up. If you think isolating yourself is the answer, you isolate yourself and you lock yourself down. But I don't know the implication. Are you implying that healthy people outside should mask? Outside? And if you want to attend protests, you can have your own little bubble, mask up. But I'm sorry, I believe in body autonomy. Like, so I don't know what you're implying. Like, are you implying that that we should force people to wear masks here? Even though there's a lot of dispute on the effectiveness of masks. I'm being careful here because we're on YouTube. There are a lot of disputes over that. So I think in these situations, you need to do what's best for you and for your household, and ask yourself how you can help the movement. If you are susceptible to COVID, if you have comorbidities, is your best role to be on the front line where you can get sick? Why not support it? Why not support the movement by engaging in mutual aid, like helping. You can prepare food for the movement. You can compare clothes for the movement. There are a lot of things you can do. You can donate and help fund the movement. There are a lot of things you can do instead of attending an event, especially if you worry about getting sick, right? Because these events, especially these protests, is inherently will have a lot of people there. Mm-hmm. That's what it will entail. So, I don't know what the solution. Like CJ said, like you say, you don't know what the solution is. That's why I'm asking. Like, what do you say movement should do? Because at a certain point, I think people should have body autonomy. You can't force people to mask up. You can't force people to get shots, in my opinion, right? So either I say this with all due compassion. That's why I think you should take care of yourself, your family, do what you think will protect you. And I think in this situation, maybe find another way you can help the movement instead of attending protests and asking people to mask up outside. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's just my thought. I have all solidarity with people in the struggle, but you got to find a way to help the movement that can protect yourself. Because I do want you guys to be protected, but you can't. We got to make sure we're not violating body autonomy and repeating things that don't work. Another one from Aiden, thank for 499. Can y'all feature more Black trans left perspectives to talk about organizing trans genocidal policy decisions made by the United States government? Thank you for 499.
We just talked about this yesterday because we got an email about this. So
I think from Aiden, I think the same guy.
Yeah, I think JB. We talked about this with JB. So we haven't gotten as far as knowing what guests, because literally this just happened yesterday. But yes, we do. We have gotten an idea, and we're in discussion with our members about it. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what we got. Make sure you guys leave super chats, and we can get to it at the next segment. But I'll pass to you, CJ. We can continue.
Yeah, so there's a couple of quick segments here that I wanted to cover, and let's get to this first one. We could have inserted this when we were talking about Joe Biden, but let's give it its own space. Because here is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I guess, Nick, maybe he feels so offended about them rigging the election at this point, especially with the latest rules that they have. He's saying, fuck this shit. And now he's calling out Joe Biden's cognitive decline, which I've never, he's always been trying to be nice to him. And I like Joe Biden and all this other great stuff. But in this clip, it's not so much as great stuff. And he brings up his age, and he needs to prove his cognitive ability. So let's listen to Robert F.K. Jr.
The Democratic Party has been my home for my whole life. The Democratic Party has been a home to my family since we came over in 1848 during the potato famine.
Right. Probably the most iconic Democratic family of all. So you're a Democrat. You're running for the Democratic nomination. One thing almost every Democrat agrees on is that Joe Biden is better than Donald Trump, even if Joe Biden isn't perfect, and that Donald Trump, most Democrats think, is a threat to democracy. Do you agree with that?
We've got to stop governing by fear, using fear as a governing tool, and we've got to stop running on fear that if everybody doesn't stay in line,
right,
that this boogeyman is going to take over our country. We can't.
This point, how he's talking about Donald Trump right here, it does two things. One, people like Sam Cedar, Majority Report, TYT, see, he's a conservative. That they're gonna use this kind of to say that. The other thing is, this is another reason why they despise him. So it's the COVID stuff, but the fact that you're not going to talk about Donald Trump in the same way that we talk about Trump is a problem, especially in a Democratic primary. Imagine him being a lot more coherent. You got Joe Biden over there babbling about Trump is crazy, babbling, and then you got RFK saying, like, we don't need this. Come on, guys. Look, you get what I'm saying? It's just a dynamic that they don't want to have, and they will never allow in this Democratic primary. But let's get back to the video and finish off and get comment.
We have to have democracy in our country. We have to have a lot of people running and a lot of people talking to each other and debating and have unscripted interactions.
Right.
I'm worried about that our country is going to be governed not by somebody who is, fully has the mental fluidity and the acuity and the dexterity that is required to govern this country, and that the country instead will be governed by a bunch of faceless technocrats with lanyards.
He's saying, now he's still nicing it up for Biden, but he's saying we're going to be governed not by this guy who's clearly has cognitively declined, but by some nameless, faceless bureaucrats. That's what he's saying right here. I'm very curious to the Biden reaction. Biden can't reaction to RFK bringing this point up. But let's continue.
Will be governed by a bunch of faceless technocrats with lanyards who nobody's ever heard of, who are making decisions about whether or not to bring us to nuclear Armageddon. And we're very, very close to that right now. And I want, a president up there who can make those decisions and who's gonna understand everything, the entire landscape. And I think President Biden needs to show us all that he has that capacity. There are so many doubts, so many Americans have doubts about that. And I think 70% have questions about his mental acuity. And, I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other, but what I would say is he needs to come out of the White House and answer that question. He needs to have town halls and unscripted interactions.
Exactly.
And
he's not going to have any of those, Nick. He's not going to have any unscripted. They know what's wrong with this guy. They go like this. They making a calculation. Is it better to put him up there and everybody see how much of a fool he are and possibly lose credibility in this whole system because they're going to see how we were propping up this guy who shouldn't even be here? We can do that, or we can just shut it down, be called anti-democratic, but we still safeguard the idea that this guy is not running the country. Go ahead, Nick.
That's what they did last time, CJ. That's the calculation they make. They know that they're going to get hit by hiding Biden, right? But the calculation is the hit they take by having Biden hide from the public is less than the hit they would take if Biden continually make an ass of himself, right? That's literally the campaign strategy they ran last time. Then they rely on media propaganda and free media advertisement to win the election. So that's what they're trying again. That's why people who apologize for Joe Biden are so foolish, and RFK brings it up in such a great way, because if Biden is actually prepared and he actually fit to be president, and you guys want to take on this age question, wouldn't you guys be like, all right, we're going to do a weekly town hall, we're going to do more press conferences so you guys can see that Biden is more fit? The fact that they are not doing that, CJ, despite so much concern, despite all these polls, shows that they made that calculation again, despite how much criticism he's getting for his age. They we prefer that than the alternative. Then you guys see this guy. That's how bad it is. It's crazy, but let's continue.
That's it. We prefer this nonsense. like they're telling us, Nick, believe us, this is better. Him falling down the steps, believe us, this is better. him thinking that he was ground zero 9/11s, believe us, this is better than what we know what will happen. But let's let RFK finish out here.
No, I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other, but what I would say is he needs to come out of the White House and answer that question. He needs to have town halls and unscripted interactions. And you shouldn't be able to run for president. And the only Americans you're talking to are your donors.
So, but if the final choice is Trump versus Biden, right now you're undecided?
If it's Trump, I don't have a plan B. I intend to win this election, and I'm not going to talk about
one. That's a lie.
That's unserious.
I want you guys to understand something. For one, that's a lie. Secondly, it's really fucked up, and it's a very shady media tactic that they do, where they force people who are running against Joe Biden to answer whether they're going to support him or not. So they do this every single time. Not only just RFK, there's Marianne, everybody. They say, will you support Joe Biden if you're not me? That's a propaganda technique, guys. They are immediately kneecapping their campaign to their face. It's supposed to be a power move. So RFK, we know he's full of shit. We know he's lying. But what does that say about the media that they constantly putting this out there? Instead of asking about the real substance of his campaign, they constantly focus on, oh, we heard Biden, we heard that. It's such a gross tactic, but like Zoya said earlier, I put Zoya's comment up here earlier. I want you guys to understand, in order to run in a DNC primary, the only way they will even allow you to run if you sign a DNC loyalty pledge, right? And we don't know if RFK is willing to be the first person willing to be sued, but we know that to be the case because they reviewed that last election. That's what many Bernie insiders said. They said, yo, Bernie was forced to sign a loyalty pledge. That's why Tosi endorsed Joe Biden. Right. At that point, she was literally already at the Fox transition, right? She was already done, like, pretending she's a Democrat, but she still endorsed Joe Biden because that's how strong that fucking contract is. The contract is so strong, Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Joe Biden, fam. So, until proven otherwise, unless this motherfucker wants to get sued, unless there's evidence and data that contract doesn't exist anymore, I'm going to assume that RFK is going to endorse Joe Biden or he's going to get sued. We see what happened. If he refuses to endorse Biden, that'd be impressive because he'd be the first one that ever challenged that pledge. But I don't believe it.
I would always want to wonder, like, what would actually happen?
Dude, apparently it's real, man. Apparently it's a real threat. They forced Tulsi to yield. Like, and this is around the time when she was extremely critical of them. I wouldn't say she made a full Fox transition yet because she didn't appear on Fox, but it was definitely heavily suggested that she's about to take that route. She still endorsed them because the contract is that damn powerful. So we see if RFK make history, the first person ever. We will see what happens if you actually don't do it. My guess, and this is one possibility I'm just now considering, because you guys know how the DNC not going to have primary debates. RFK was complaining about how they're going to take all of New Hampshire's delegates and give it to Biden. So the only way RFK may get out of this, CJ, is if they don't have a formal primary. You know what I mean? So if they have a formal primary, he'd be forced to sign the pledge. But they literally canceled the primary. So they're like, we're not even doing the pledge. We're just not going to fucking do a primary. So that's maybe the only way that RFK gets out of endorsing Biden. But we see. We see what we say. But as of now, I think he's going to endorse Biden because that's the trend. That's what we see.
Yeah. And I think they play this. They play this. Marianne Williamson do it too. They play this coy game. Well, I don't know because I'm not sure when they know all along they've signed a loyalty pledge and they also do it because they know they'll turn off possible voters if we knew that you were going to endorse Joe Biden in the end. But go ahead.
And CJ, I'm going to just read Zoya's comment. I'll pass back to you. But she said, it's a legally binding contract to participate in Democrat Inc. process. And people got to remember, they are a corporation. And they made an argument and they won in the Supreme Court that they have the right to run the primary any way they want. That's how they're able to do that. So if it's a legally binding contract, that's why Tulsi endorsed. That's why all the people will endorse Biden, because God knows what the fuck DNC. Not only will they have the legal advantage over them, but then you have the professional advantage. Like, Nick, you're destroyed, right? But anyway, great comment by Zoya's Love. Zoya's Life, my friend. Go ahead, CJ. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thanks for the comment from Zoya. And I think we can end it there, but let me see if I had a thing pop up. I don't know if it was a super chat. Did a new super chat come in about this topic?
I didn't see any.
Okay, because my computer is super speaker. So okay, then I thought I saw something. Yeah, go ahead. All right. I think we can move to the next topic. This is an even shorter story than the RFK story. The reason I wanted to cover this sort of this short story is because just to hear the hypocrisy from the Democratic Party about impeachment, just hearing some of the things they say, like Nancy Pelosi calls this GOP impeachment frivolous, which it is. But yours was too, Madam Speaker, as she likes to be called. So let's listen to this video when she was on with Jonathan Capehart and understand Nancy Pelosi only goes on when she knows the interview is going to be a nice interview.
That guy, that Negro, the only reason that Negro is on TV because they trust him like a motherfucker. They got so much. I remember he had an interview with Anthony Blinken. Not too long ago.
Oh wow, they trust him that much. Oh yeah, they trust him.
He get all the big. That's the only time I ever see this guy is when he's talking to a big establishment creature. They trust this Negro more than they trust their fucking kids.
All right, let's play the clip. It's a very short It's 2 minutes, but let's listen. There might be a couple of things to break down what she's saying, because she is talking about day 3 of the auto workers. And when we get to the UAW update, which is the next thing I want to talk about, then we go to the Welker clip. But the UAW update is another clip with Jonathan Capehart, and they love to frame all these UAW segments around Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden said this. They're always inserting these good things they're trying to say about Joe Biden. But let's listen to Nancy Pelosi here.
Getting back to this, impeachment is deadly serious. This is a remedy that our founders put in the Constitution for a rogue official. They could foresee we would have a rogue president of the United States. They couldn't foresee that we'd have a rogue president.
I don't know. Would you define a president as rogue, Nick, that's taking us, marching us down a proxy war to a nuclear, possibly nuclear war with China and Russia? I would call that pretty unhinged. You get what I'm saying? What about a president who's in power who has dementia or some sort of other cognitive declining illness? What is that? What would you call that, Nancy Pelosi? But let's listen to what she says. And understand, everybody, we're going to have Nancy Pelosi for several more years. She's running for re-election. Okay.
Getting back to this, impeachment is deadly serious. This is a remedy that our founders put in the Constitution for a rogue official. They could foresee we would have a rogue president of the United States. They couldn't foresee that we'd have a rogue president and a rogue Senate, rogue Congress. But nonetheless, for them to use this in the frivolous way.
I got to give Nancy Pelosi a history lesson, because I told you guys I Googled it. She mentioned the Constitution. The reason why the Constitution didn't calculate the Senate is because the Senate is a new invention. Like, the Senate was made in the late 19th century, and it was originally designed to be unelected bureaucrats. The job of the original Senate was they was handpicked by Congress and the rich to overwrite laws that the Congress passed that goes against the ruling class. So, for one, Nancy Pelosi, you don't even know your history. This is the fake history that they teach you in the United States. The Constitution, they didn't account for the Senate. They said nothing about Senate. So, I say we should abolish the Senate. And when people say, Nick, you think we should abolish the Senate? Like, nigga, that shit's new. That shit's not institutional. It wasn't until I got fact checked the date, and I can
insert a little bit here.
I got Google the date, because it wasn't until the 1900s, the early 1900s. And I'm gonna look at the exact year that you was allowed to vote for a senator. Like, that was like within the last 100 years, CJ, that you was allowed to vote for Senate. Before, they would just handpick them, and they're like, you're there to block vote. But go ahead, CJ. I know you want to chime in.
Let me speak to that, because I do know a little bit about it after reading a book. So a lot of senators, original senators, when they invented the Senate, were actually slave owners, like our richest slave owners. And the reason this was invented, or one of the reasons, because it could be multiple layers of reasons, one of the reasons was they didn't want the House could at some point have enough people in the House that would go against all the things that slave owners wanted. So they didn't want that to happen. They was like, man, the House could get to where it can be so many people that they're going to be voting against all the things of all these rich slave owners. So they invented the Senate. You notice how the Senate doesn't matter. Everybody gets 2. It doesn't matter if you have, 10 people, or you got California, you got several million people. Everybody gets 2. So the concept was to slow down democracy, was to prevent democracy. That is what the Senate is for. Go ahead.
That's like when I say abolish ICE, a bunch of government bootlickers on the right, like, oh my God, abolish ICE? What are we going to do about the border? Like, ICE was founded in 2003, sir. You are most likely older than ICE. If you're listening to this, there's a good chance that you're older than ICE. So Americans keep having this perception that these institutions are older than they actually are. Look at this here. I had to fact check myself. I didn't remember off the top of my head. Voters have selected U.S. senators in the privacy of the voting booth since 1913. So, and then in 1826, you have resolutions for people saying that we should elect senators. So in the 1800s, people were like, nigga, you guys got unelected bureaucrats. So back then they were considered the radicals. CJ, you guys want to change the system and allow peasants to vote for senators? That'll be us. And well, obviously not. We'd be slaves back then, but you guys
you have to catch yourself historically. Yeah, I have to catch myself historically. No,
but you guys see what I'm saying though. Like the radical side was like, yeah, we need to vote for the senators. Maybe a few of them for into slavery. And by the way, people who apologize for founding fathers, abolitionists exist as early as the 1500s. Like abolitionists has always been a thing. So there was abolitionists in the 1800s, and they're probably the same ones that saying that we should vote for senators. Like, but anyway, that's a very new concept. I kind of derailed the segment. I just want to do.
No, it's a good history footnote lesson.
Yeah, but I want to tell you how Nancy Pelosi full of shit. So you can go back like 5 seconds because she talked about pretty much political. Like when politicians talk about history, it's just political fan fiction. I'll put the video back up. Essentially political fan fiction. So anyway, let's continue.
Yeah. All right. So Pelosi right here. I'm going to rewind it maybe 10 seconds here. Where am I? Let's go back maybe 10 seconds to about there.
Of course. But nonetheless, for them to use this in the frivolous way that they are.
I want to include the founding fathers comment. So let me go back a little more.
The Constitution for a rogue official. They could foresee we would have a rogue president of the United States. They couldn't foresee that we'd have a rogue president and a rogue Senate, rogue Congress. But nonetheless, for them to use this in the frivolous way that they are is really a disservice to our country, to our Constitution. They have they've had months, almost this whole year, the whole time, 9 months, going on 9 months, of investigations. The rest they've come up with nothing. When we engaged in impeaching the president because we had no choice, he was.
They had no choice, Nick. But this is just frivolous. But they had no choice. You have the audacity to say this, Nancy, because almost every president could have been impeached as a war criminal. But for you to pretend like yours was on the up and up, because Trump could have been impeached for a bunch of emoluments clauses. But the problem is Nancy also is profiting from her.
I think you could impeach Trump for killing General Soleimani of Iran.
Yes,
I think that was 100% impeachment worthy. There's so many things like him stealing over $1 billion of Venezuelan gold. That's impeachment worthy. There's so much real stuff they could have got Trump on, but they didn't. And I want you to understand how unhinged Nancy Pelosi is right now, because they're talking about an impeachment inquiry. CJ, I feel like a lot of people forget about that. They're not talking about actual impeachment. Nancy Pelosi said, no, don't look into corruption ever. The impeachment inquiry is fact-finding about Hunter Biden's corruption. Why did Biden set up so many shell companies? What did Biden talk about with the limousine rides used to give Hunter Biden's associates? There were phone call records where Biden and Hunter Biden was on call with Hunter Biden's business associates. So the question is, what did Biden say to those people? That's why you have an impeachment inquiry, CJ and friends and family, so you can figure that stuff out, and then you can see whether you can have impeachment or not. Nancy Pelosi say, no, we don't want facts. No inquiries, no fact-finding. We are not corrupt. Please believe us. You guys know how unhinged this is? Like, my mind is so decolonized. These people sound so extreme to me, CJ.
Unhinged, yeah,
and people who vote Democrat, the people who are duopolists, even the progressive, like when they still hinge towards the Democrats, it confuses me because they don't see what I see. Like, I see unhinged psychopaths who say stuff that makes no sense. You can't inquire over corruption? That's an extremist position, fam. But sorry, CJ, go ahead.
We were accusing him of high crimes and misdemeanors, which were evident. And even Republican senators voted for in terms of Ukraine and in terms of the assault on the Capitol. But this is almost silly, except that it's so serious.
Is it something that the Biden White House should worry about
politically?
Well, I think you always have to, the time is our most important commodity. It's finite. And doing this is taking away from meeting the needs of the American people. We have a
doing this is taking away from meeting the needs of the people. So, Nancy Pelosi, are you saying if not for the impeachment inquiry that it hasn't even started yet, you would be doing for the American people? Is that what she's saying? Are we really to believe this? Both of them do this because that's what Republicans were saying when you were impeaching Trump. You guys are wasting Americans' time and money. You could be handling the real. They never handle the real things. They always have distractions to where they're never handling the real issues of the American citizens. And this is no different. All right, let's continue.
Have a serious budget debate coming up. Imagine the insensitivity of the Republicans in the House to the child poverty rate in our country. Under President Biden, the Biden child tax credit cut child poverty in half. Because of their refusal to renew it and continue it, child poverty has more than increased. It's gone from 5.6 to 10 point something, or maybe it's up to 12 by now, certain communities. So this is sinful. Again, it's not about values. Our budget should be a statement of our values. And what is important to us is
our budget should be a statement of our values. That is a very, very loaded statement. Our budget should be a reflection of our values. So let's take that, Nick. Our budget, military budget, on paper, $900 billion. Off paper, it's well over $1 trillion. Is that an indication of who we are, Nick? Isn't that? Because that's what Nancy Pelosi just said. Our budget is a reflection of who we are. So if the vast thing we spend the most money on is killing people around the world, what are we then? I'll pass to you for any final words, and we can move on to the next topic.
We can move on to the next one. I have a short segment.
Do yours, and then I have one more left.
Yeah, literally only a 5-minute segment. I can stay for yours now. I had to wrap up after that. This segment
Welker's my last one.
And honestly, I was debating whether I should do this or not. I think this clip is safe. Just heads up, CJ. At any point in this segment, you want to stop? My ego is not going to be wounded. Just tell me to abort. You veto the segment, I'll move on because I want to cover the Megyn Kelly Trump segment. Because I did a segment about how Tucker Carlson gave Donald Trump one of the most pathetic tongue bath interviews I've seen in my entire life. And we reacted to a lot of interviews. And I mean, they did this interview with Tucker Carlson and Trump during the Republican debate, right? And people were like, I'd rather watch Trump versus Tucker Carlson in the Republican debate. And I was like, you guys out of your mind? Nah. We did a live stream over the Republican debate. That is way more interesting than listening to Tucker Carlson fucking give a tongue bath, pathetic interview to Donald Trump where he pretend that, Donald Trump, tell me why the media hates you so much. Why are you such a victim? It was such weak bullshit. And I've been of a strong opinion that Tucker Carlson is extremely overrated by a lot of people. He has good moments, like when he called out the Ukraine war, when he stick up to Julian Assange. But I feel like a lot of people watch Tucker in clips because when you watch the whole show, you realize this motherfucker is really unserious. He talks about a lot of unserious stuff. And a lot of the show is him giving comebacks to politicians. And his new X show, to be honest, very boring. Once again, I'm going to make a lot of Tucker Carlson fans mad about this. But his X show is literally him bringing members of the ruling class on, him bringing capitalists on, and giving them softball interviews. And I don't understand the appeal of that. I don't get the appeal of that shit. But Megyn Kelly, who's someone I don't really got a lot of respect for, she exposes Tucker. Like, this wasn't the narrative that a lot of right-wingers had. But when I saw Megyn with Trump, I was surprised. Don't get me wrong. I've seen clips of the rest of the interview. They did have a lot of fluff moments, but they also had moments where Megyn legitimately challenged Trump. And one of the things that I am always been confused on is how the right wing, who is very militant about the COVID issue, I don't understand why they ever gave Trump a pass, CJ.
It's always shocking to me too.
Like that always was something that confused me. Remember, I told you I had a bad prediction I said on the Jimmy Dore show a long time ago. I own this bad prediction. I said I thought Ron DeSantis would have an edge over Trump, and that clearly was wrong. Now, one of the reasons why I thought that, because I'm like, okay, Republicans are going to look at Trump's COVID policy compared to Ron DeSantis, and they're going to be like, oh shit, Ron DeSantis better on COVID. And I thought a lot of them would support him because of that. Trump started the lockdowns. He started the mandates. He founded the vaccine. He enabled Fauci. Once again, CJ, I will not get mad. Tell me to shut the fuck up if you want me to. But I think
no. Go ahead.
I think this clip is safe. So this clip is brutal, and this is Megyn Kelly calling him out. And I'll just read the first part because this guy is big into the right wing circles. And based on info that I received later, he's like a DeSantis guy. But there's a lot of talk about, and I've been looking at this on the right, about Trump's COVID policies now. And he said this is absolutely brutal, strange. Trump claims he doesn't know who gave Anthony Fauci a presidential recommendation while he was president when pressed by Megyn Kelly. I'm not going to read the transcript. I want you guys to watch it because this is brutal. And this is what the Tucker interview could have been. Imagine if Tucker grilled Trump on trying to kill General Soleimani, for example, trying for him actually implementing all the COVID protocols. That shit would have been interesting. That is not what he did. So this clip I found interesting. So let's play it. Not a long statement. I'll preface a lot. I'm going to play it. I want to get your thoughts on it. But this is very hilarious to me. Oh, shit.
Fire Anthony Fauci was because he'd been there for a long time, that you would have taken heat, that it would have created a firestorm, quoting your words. Then for the first time in May.
I also said I didn't listen to him too much.
I'm getting there. But then in May, you started saying, well, he's a civil servant, so I couldn't technically. The truth is, though, not only did you not fire Fauci, who is loathed by many millions of Republicans in particular, but also some Democrats.
By the way,
you made him a star. You made him a star. This is the
you made him a star.
That you made him the face of the White House coronavirus task
You think so?
force, that he was at every presser, that he was running for the administration on.
Trump is good.
Bro, Trump just got dismantled. He left speeches there. Like, and once again, Megyn is bringing up something that I never understand why the right let him go, because they were like, fire Fauci. But we love Trump, who kept him on board, appointed the motherfucker. Like he didn't do anything to Fauci. And that was like with Trump with everything. And he was a fraud when he criticized Clinton for her ties to Saudi Arabia. And then he started getting payment from Saudi Arabia. His son got payment to Saudi Arabia. And then he started getting Saudi Arabian weapons deals. Everything that he ran on, he like directly abandoned. That's why when people in the audience like, oh my God, I don't like when Dr. Cornel West called out Donald Trump. I'm like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. That is not my criticism at all. Dr. Cornel West should call out Trump as a fraud the same way he called out Biden as a fraud. That's one of the criticisms that never makes sense to me. Because we need to tell the poor white working class that fell for Trumpism, instead of what the MAGA communists do, these fucking cowards, instead of explaining to people what's wrong with idolizing Trump, they're like, oh, we're gonna feed your delusion that Trump is good. No, we need to tell people that the duopolists, just like Trump, are frauds. And Tucker does not do that. He's a big Trump super fan, right? Meanwhile, I'll go back. I want the video clip defense because it's not a long segment. I don't tend to be.
You made him a star. You made him a star. This is the criticism of you, that you made him the face of the White House coronavirus task
You think so?
force, that he was at every presser, that he was running herd for the administration on COVID, and that you actually gave him a presidential commendation before you left office. Wouldn't you like a do-over on that?
I don't know who gave him the commendation. I really don't know who gave him the commendation.
Presidential commendation. One went out to Mark.
Somebody probably
fire Anthony.
So this clip, and CJ, I'm telling you this because I know you don't pay attention to stuff. There was a ton of talk on right-wing Twitter about this. I'm gonna keep this segment short, but there were a lot of people like, man, Megyn really exposed Trump on the COVID thing. And I think it's all. Anything you want to add, CJ, to this? Because
one reason I'm gonna give a possible reason why some give him a pass is because they could say, well, this is before we knew Dr. Fauci was terrible. This is before, you get what I'm saying? This is before we knew transparently that Dr. Fauci was so terrible. So some people can just say, oh, maybe Trump was fooled too. I don't know when he gave him the accommodation. We live in such a anti-intellectual this world where this is a thing. Like, this is such not a thing, but go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
This is a short clip. I haven't seen this one, so I'm actually curious. It's only 46 seconds, so I haven't seen this. I want to see what this one is, and we can react to it. I'm just curious.
But I was not a big fan of Fauci. If you look at Ron DeSanctimonious, this guy said the greatest things. I can give you articles that Fauci.
Ron DeSanctimonious said way more stuff than me.
I'm interested in seeing whether that's true or not. Because once again, this guy, someone told me after I reacted to it originally, someone told me that Pedro is a DeSantis guy. I didn't know that when I first commented on it. So this is what DeSantis is leeching on. And I saw a lot of conversation where like, man, that Trump Megyn COVID part did not go well for him, right? So once again, this is me scooping the right. Like I was doing up on it. I'm like, what the fuck they talking about? And this is what I saw floating around all over MAGA Twitter. There were a lot of MAGA people defending Trump, and then they was getting roasted for this. So this is interesting, and I'm actually surprised that this didn't play as much of a factor in this primary as I thought it would. Because I had the bad take on Jimmy Dore show not too like a year and a half ago or so, where I thought Ron DeSantis maybe posed a threat, but he's not. Like it's a joke. That's a joke how bad that prediction was. So I didn't see this clip, so I'm actually playing it just because I'm curious. So let's see. I want to see what she says in response to that, because I did not consider DeSantis to be a Fauci person, and because this guy laughed at the idea. Because remember, he's a DeSantis supporter, so he just laughed at this clip, CJ. So let's see.
I was not a big fan of Fauci. If you look at Ron DeSanctimonious, this guy said the greatest things. I can give you articles.
The greatest.
Fauci's great. He's wonderful. We love him. We don't do anything without Fauci. This went on for months.
But he didn't listen to Fauci.
Oh, he did 100%. Look,
he shut down Florida.
I will give you. He shut down Florida
for a month.
Oh, he shut it down for a lot of long. He shut down the beaches. He shut down the roads. He shut down a hospital. He was shutting down everything. He also had long lines of people getting the jab, as he called it. Let's all go get the jab. The guy tried to change.
Oh my God, dude, guys, Trump pivot on this.
He's struggling. He's struggling.
By the way, I want you guys to understand, Trump had a giant pivot on this. He realized that him saying that we should own the vaccine, he used to say, why don't I get credit for the Trump vaccine? He realized that played horrible with his base. But last 5 seconds, I'm done.
Florida. Now, eventually Florida was open, but a lot of these other guys.
So Megyn Kelly brutally fact-checked some here. I don't know if she's a DeSantis supporter, but this is what they're sharing here.
They just don't like each other. If you remember, he called her out. I think she moderated one of the Fox News debate, and he literally called her out to in the middle of the debate. Yeah, so they just don't like each other.
I want to say this before I end the segment. YouTube, we believe that everything the CDC said has been correct. The COVID vaccine is safe and effective. We are not suggesting anyone take health advice from us at all. This is just us responding to a clip of a presidential candidate being interviewed. We are not sharing our opinions. We believe that you should trust the government uncritically. Please. Anyway, last thought. I'll pass you, CJ. Any last thoughts on the segment?
No, but to your point, I did see clips of this Megyn Kelly interview with Trump.
There's a lot they
talk about. Reason that you gave me, the same reason you gave me the caveat, like this is about COVID. That's the reason why I kind of stay. I was like, it's COVID. I'm not gonna really. But you picked a good clip that didn't really push the line.
Yeah, I wonder, like, will they get mad if you criticize Fauci? Like, I don't think they ban if you criticize Fauci.
Oh, that part. I don't think that part. But she does land a kidney blow to Donald Trump, but I believe he's so far ahead, and he's built up enough with his base to where he can ride out this Fauci thing. He can say pretty much, make up a story, say, obfuscate blame, scapegoat blame, and they'll just kind of overlook it because he's so good in their eyes. He's so good on how he talks about the deep state that they'll just accept it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just interested to see how this develops throughout the course of the campaign, which is why I wanted. Once again, remember I said I personally wanted to see Trump there because I want to see Trump interact with Christie on Ukraine. And honestly, Ron DeSantis is waiting. Like, you know how Tosi had that moment with Kamala? You know how Kamala had that moment with Biden?
Yes.
I was that little girl. DeSantis is banking on that moment, fam. And I'm calling it. Like, you guys know how my predictions are. I'm calling it right now. The first time that Trump debates with Ron DeSantis, he's gonna try to get this big COVID moment. And that is what he's banking on to turn that election. You know how Biden would how Kamala was destroyed by Kamala destroyed Biden in the beginning of their election. And then Tosi destroyed Kamala. That's his plan. He want to get that big gotcha moment on COVID. He already like kind of previewed it. Like when I seen his interviews, he hint towards his attack on Trump or COVID. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see. I hope you don't get in trouble for that segment. Anyway, CJ,
I don't think we will. But let's read the remaining. I think we got 2 or 3 more super chats before I do this last segment here. That we can get out right after the segment.
Yeah, thanks for $5 DC. California governor gets to appoint U.S. senators when they vacate office midterm. When Kamala was selected for VP, Gavin Newsom appointed Alex Padilla. So they love finding ways to sidestep the 17th Amendment. And I actually just learned something. I didn't know that was part of the 17th Amendment. That's just my fact check that showed me that. Thank you for $2 DC. Padilla was California Secretary of State overseeing 2016 fraud. Thank you for that. I think that's the last one I've seen. So CJ, we can go on for the last story.
Yeah, so we're gonna go on to this final story, and it's so for those that don't know, Kristen Welker has replaced Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. And it's a big thing. This is something I found out. I didn't know she was black this whole time. I thought she was of Indian or
I never seen her. I don't know who that is.
I didn't know that she was black whatsoever. So that's something I learned doing this segment. So let me go ahead and pull up the first receipt.
The funniest thing about this segment, the funniest thing about this, CJ, because they're melting down at this new Meet the Press host, but they was also mad at Chuck Todd. Liberals were mad at Chuck Todd, and they were super excited that he was gone. He was leaving because they're like, we tired of Chuck Todd giving voice to Republicans, being soft on Republicans. And then when he was fired and this new person was hired for Meet the Press, especially because they care about politics, they're like, yes, we finally got a good host. And then she has Trump on, and then after she invited Trump on, they're like, oh my, how dare she betray us like this? Like, and then they're going through the same cycle again. So anyone who had the audacity to interview Trump, and I know who this person is. God, I know exactly who this is. She finally got the promotion. Everyone knows who this person is. She was a big White House press correspondent, very famous DNC sycophant media personality. So I was behind on this Meet the Press story. So this is actually the first time I've seen her. First time I've seen this clip. That's hilarious that she got her promotion, and they turned on her real quick. What does that say about liberalism and liberal culture now, where they are mad at people for just giving an interview and conversation to their political rivals, I should say. But go ahead, CJ, I'll pass you. We can continue.
So liberals melt down over Meet the Press interview. So let me just put that in there as the tag. And there's several clips. They're all very short. I think all of them are under a minute. And then we're gonna watch some reaction. And then there's an article. Nick, they have gotten so mad over this interview, they actually wrote an article about
I didn't see that.
being mad about it. So I'll get to that article in just a second. But first, let's play a couple of clips and try to figure out why are they so mad. Let's listen to this first one of, I think it's 4 clips.
Have a lot of
when you say you needed 1/10 of a point. You
one
needed
tenth of a point. I needed a very
to
small.
win?
I think somebody said 22,000 votes.
To win?
Yeah. If you divide it among the states, it was 22,000 votes, something to that effect. Yeah.
To win the election?
Yeah, if I would have had another 22,000 votes over the whole. But look, they rigged the election. If you look at Pennsylvania,
but Mr. President,
if you
you're
look
saying
at all
you needed
this
more
stuff,
votes to win the election. Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
If you look at all of the statistics, all of the votes, they say 22,000 votes over millions and millions of votes, 22,000 votes. So when they do Twitter files, or when they have 51 intelligence agents come out and lie that the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, and now they find out it's not. But they knew that at the time. They cheated on the election in that way too.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying you needed those votes in order to win? Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
I'm not acknowledging. No, I say I won the election.
So what now? Could you let me before I say why they're mad?
Go ahead.
Is there anything, Nick? since you were fresh to this story, this is a good interaction we're gonna have. Okay, what is there anything from there that the conservative? You know shit libs is. What do you think they gleaned from that would piss them off to where they're calling for her to be fired? Is there anything you would guess?
The fact that she gave him an opportunity to accurately point out how the media colluded with the election because of the Hunter Biden story. And that's a great point. And that's why liberals are very careful, and this is to show their fascistic nature, on controlling information. So the way they get people to stay along on board with Russiagate is to limit people like Aaron Mate and many other people, even Noam Chomsky, who saw through it, from coming on the show and explaining. So her biggest sin is bringing Trump on and giving him a defense. So what they truly believe is that Trump is a criminal who guilty of all these crimes, but he also should not be given a public platform to ever defend himself. So you are guilty of crimes. Everyone believe our accusations of him being guilty, and anyone who give him a platform to defend himself is our enemy. You guys see how once again unhinged that ideology is.
That's unhinged.
That's completely unhinged.
How does that serve us? That's not democratic.
Sorry, I'll pass to you, CJ. I apologize, but how does that serve us? Like, for us to allow Democrats without any challenge to say this person is guilty of a crime. This guy is guilty of a crime we accuse him of. You can't platform him. You're not allowed to show his defense, even if it's bullshit. I'm not even talking about the quality of Trump's defense. Trump should be allowed to speak and give his defense, and they're upset because he's doing that. And they attack, and she's not the first victim. They attack anyone who has the audacity of doing that, like the CNN town hall, right? But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember now in the past election, they did attack a bunch of people. I do remember Chuck Todd. It was like, yeah, that nigga needs to fire. Oh, Chris Hayes. Remember they had a big thing where they hated Chris Hayes because he said something. It's just, and they don't think they're in a cult, Nick. They don't think they're in a cult when you have such reaction about this.
And
Go
CJ,
ahead.
Think about it, on a smaller level, we got that same heat as well. Like, we had a debate where we disagree with Jackson on MAGA communism, and there was people that mad at me because I had the audacity to bring them on, even though it was about something we disagree with. So these people are deeply authoritarian and deeply free speech because they want to embrace the culture of you're not allowed to talk to people you disagree with. You're not allowed to give platform to people you disagree with. People say, oh, Nick, why you have this person on? Nick, why you have this person on? Oh my God, Nick, you had Jimmy on. You had this person on. I'm like, I'm a citizen fucking journalist. I've talked to people. I want to hear their perspective. I remember I brought on Haas on because I don't know that much about Haas. I see there's a lot of conversation about him. So I'm like, all right, let's bring him on with Midwestern Marks. I want to see what his politics is. We had a conversation, and I'm like, okay, he seemed pretty normal to me. And people was livid. They're like, how dare you have him on and talk to this guy? And I'm sure I have a lot of disagreements with him. People like, how dare you not know everything this guy ever tweeted about? How dare you not know everything this guy ever said and have an interview with him and have a conversation with him? So this culture that she's being attacked for, we already felt on many different ways, CJ. Yeah. But the thing is, and a lot of people, these people are upset, like people who have Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome, like Zeta Day, Vanguard, all these people who used to love RB that hate us now. They hate us because they were like, oh, Nick, how dare you have Jimmy Dore on? How dare you have this person? I'm like, you are not policing me who I talk to. You're upset with my guest. You can kick rocks and get the fuck out of here. That's always been my mindset. And that's what I see with liberals regarding Trump. That's long-winded, but I think I said what I said. Go ahead.
You can kick rocks and get the fuck out of here.
Just for having people, I'm like, that's like the least of my fucking concerns. Yeah. How dare you have this person on? How dare you have this person on? Fuck out of here, you child.
All right,
child. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so here's another 2-minute clip. This is the one that they are most mad about. Is this clip right here?
I want to know who you called, by the way, on that day.
Nancy Pelosi. I don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way. I behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't do that, and now
Nancy
I understand.
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander in
against.
chief.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her. Capitol Police, great people.
So I got to say this because I don't want the point to be missed. This is the stuff that's most infuriating to the shit libs.
Yeah.
They feel like he's getting a narrative. To your point, you were saying this too. They feel like he's getting a narrative out that people could believe. Yeah. They are so fearful. It is an acknowledgement that you understand that he's a better salesman than Joe Biden, that he's a better salesman than the Democratic Party. That's why you got to make sure it can't even get out.
They
and
know
the
they're
fact that she's not like angrily combative and screaming over him so he can't even get what he's saying out. This is why they're so upset with her. So many articles have been written. I just Googled it. I didn't even know it's 9 articles.
I'm like,
crazy. So many articles have been written about this. But let's finish the clip and then we'll get to some of these other receipts here. Go ahead.
They testified against her and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say to people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief?
No, she has authority over the Capitol.
Why didn't you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
She turned down
when you realized that the
ask them which question again. Say that again.
I'll be real quick, but you gotta see she asking the questions of the working class. Like you gotta see how they're so concerned over this bullshit.
Yeah.
Why do you send help? Oh my god. Anyway, let's continue.
Sorry. Don't care anything about.
No one gives a fuck about that.
The National Guard wasn't coming.
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while. National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just so you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about pardons, Mr. President.
Why would you insert to say that? Why would you say that, Kristen Welker? Yeah. So, because I would have turned it back if I was Trump. I would turn it back. So, are you saying? All right. So let me rewind it because you got to hear it again before you hear what I'm going to say. Because let me let him say it again.
You know, let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about pardons, Mr. President.
The mayor of DC Vance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just so you know.
So I will go. So Kristen, are you saying that democracy was almost lost because I didn't put my request on a sheet of paper? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Kristen? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That's what I would have said because she would have been
CJ, that's such a great point.
Yeah, go ahead.
my bad. But that's such a great point. That's why liberals are upset. Because honestly, all Trump has to do is just laugh at these ridiculous accusations because Americans don't give a fuck about January 6th. I showed you guys the polls. I have viral tweets where I said no Americans don't care about January 6th. And every time I say that, a bunch of Bernie Sanders progressives like, how dare you, Nick? You're doing cover for the Republican Party. I'm like, I am saying that facts. Polls say that the Trump January 6th investigations, that shit is not moving the needle at all. Most people don't give a fuck about that. So when you're a girl like that and you got millions of Americans, a lot of people who are apolitical, I'm sure that Meet the Press had telling these fucking suburban Y moms just float between parties because it don't really matter to them, right? So if you're watching this, they see how absurd this is. So if you're Trump, you just laugh at it. You make a mockery of it because they're making a mockery of themselves. That's why they hate the fact that they even gave her a platform to expose how ridiculous this is. Anyway, CJ, let's continue.
Yeah, it's 30 seconds. Let me let it play all the way through for the sake of time. I promise I won't stop it. I know I keep stopping everybody, but it's very triggering. I'll save it all at the end. It's 30 more seconds.
So you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about pardons, Mr. President.
The mayor of DC gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking about
Capitol
the day
Police,
of
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Mr. President, you're the president, though. You have authorities that no one else has as the commander-in-chief. Do you think you showed leadership?
You see?
Oh, that's why liberals are furious, CJ.
They're furious because she is going after Nancy Pelosi. They are furious. So let's look at some of the comments here. And I'm sure If you haven't seen it, you can do a quick Google search. I'm not telling you to do it, but a quick search, and you'll see tons of these reactions.
Dude, the amount of articles I look at Google, literally the amount of articles I see on this is insane. Like, look, the View host knocks Kristen. Like, I'm just reading. I don't know how to put it on screen. The View host knocks Kristen Walker's debut. Los Angeles Times, the sad failure of Kristen Welker. Bro, they are, dude, that shit, they are so mad. The insane failure of Kristen Welker. Those two were just written 30 minutes ago, CJ. Like, fresh off the presses. Anyway, go ahead. They are
no, to your point. Because I have the same tab up or similar tab up. So let me show you what I have up right here. Look at this crazy. Look at all these headlines right here. Yeah. Sad failure of Kristen. A lot of these you've already read, but in freaking sane. There's more. I could click more and it'd be a lot more. In freaking sane. Yeah, dude, all because somebody was able to say their ideas that's counter to yours, and you're that afraid that somebody will hear somebody else's point and yours is not effective enough to change their mind. You are that afraid. And now let's go and close this out with the article. And here is the article, and it's like, and this is the title.
Is hilarious. This is hilarious.
This is Washington
they having
travesty.
I'm looking at all the headlines. I did what you did. I Googled her name. I just Googled Meet the Press interview. I seen a ton of articles. Like when you Google her name, dude, you can hear the disdain that liberals have because she had the audacity of doing an interview. So you gotta ask yourself, what do liberals want? Like, CJ, if we gave liberals what they want, if they had their way, they want a complete, utter media blackout on anything that does not agree with their political opinion. And that's not just Trump. They want to black out anyone who speaks out against the Ukraine war. Yeah. I'll show you guys the Guardian article, Bionomics. What they are calling for, what they are implicating with their criticisms is quite literally fascism. The merging of an elimination of the fourth estate, where we repeat the talking points of the ruling class Democrat Party, and anyone who varies from that should be fired and canceled. We know that's not going to happen because liberals not going to win this battle, but that is what they want, CJ. If they had their way, that is where we'll be at. RBN will be forced to disband because we're not allowed to talk to anti-imperialists. You're not allowed to platform the gray zone. You're not allowed to platform the Black Agenda Report. Not allowed to platform this person. It's unbelievably unhinged ideology that has been shown from the liberal culture. And that is the talking points. That is how we need Dr. Cornel West to speak about them. I don't want to go on a tangent about it, but that's how true post-duopolists feel about these people. I'm not saying, and this is what I mentioned before, I'm not saying that I'll vote for third party legitimately as a protest vote. I am not doing that as a protest vote. I'm doing that because I legitimately believe that liberal culture, the Democrats, are just as bad, if not worse, than the Republican Party. Greater than or equal to. You know what that sign is? That is what I'm saying. So that needs to be our message. If I legitimately believe that Joe Biden was a lesser fascist than Donald Trump, I will vote for Joe Biden, straight up. I don't believe that, though. Anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent, but that's generally why we want people to message that way, because they are unhinged, as you guys see. But go ahead, CJ, I'll pass to you. That's my last thoughts generally on 7. We can wrap it up here.
Yeah, let me read just a little bit. This person, you can clearly hear this person is very upset, Nick, in this article, but let me read a little bit of it. Travesty, how Meet the Press blew their Donald Trump interview bigly. And it says, we can debate whether Kristen Welker was the right choice for the NBC executive to choose host Meet the Press some other time. She wasn't, they said there, but she sure got off to a auspicious start that has the left screaming.
The left.
Funny they did. The left.
The left.
The left. Get the fuck out of here.
God damn, man. I can write a book over that, but I'll let it go. I think you guys get it. Like, I can write a book about how that alone is so misleading, but let's continue.
Why did NBC legitimize Trump with a softball?
Legitimize?
I'm sorry, Welker.
He's the leading. I'll be quick, but he's the leading presidential candidate. I am so tired of this played out cowardly beta fucking talking point. Remember when AOC refused to debate Marjorie Taylor Greene? I covered it a little bit in the beginning of the stream. One of the reasons why they say Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't debate AOC shouldn't debate Marjorie Taylor Greene. The reason why we shouldn't have two Congress people debate climate policy, CJ, is because it will legitimize Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know the person who is the number one fundraiser in Congress? The number one fundraiser in Congress will be legitimized. Why is that even your concern? It's an insane thing to worry about. And it shows that they want, if they had their way, everyone who is not quote unquote legitimate will be unheard, will be blackout. You're not allowed to hear their opinions. That is what they want. But anyway, let's continue, CJ. That's ridiculous to say that.
Why did NBC legitimize Trump with a softball interview? Did Welker have a say in it? It would seem she would have veto power. It is literally a career decision.
Hey, CJ, that's the same. I want you to understand that's the same argument that they used against us. I had a debate with Jackson Hinkle, and then people who had Jackson Hinkle derangement, they were like, "How dare you legitimize Jackson Hinkle?" I'm like, Jackson Hinkle got like 10,000 times more subs than we do. What the fuck? How dare RB legitimize Jimmy Dore? Jimmy Dore gets 10,000 times more views than we do. You like that's not a fucking thing. Like you gotta engage with people who have support. If people have support, if people are being heard, if they are a faction, you got to engage with them. And the cowardly, weak beta left want us to just ignore people that has influence because we will quote unquote legitimize. I'm sorry, going on that rant, but it's so annoying. It's definitely an establishment talking point that even progressives pick up on. There'd be like progressives that will like, "Oh, Nick, you should have this going. You legitimize this person. You legitimize this person."
That's not.
Let's make people illegitimate. Hear me. Let's make people illegitimate by destroying their arguments. How about that? Go ahead, CJ.
Yes, you want to start off big. You want a big name for your first show, but you do not legitimize the most infamous liar on earth unless you correct a lies as it comes. Meaning you have to be combative, and if you're not combative enough, we're gonna hate your guts. They want you to have the same deep-seated anger in your arguments at the time is in order to for them to be like, okay, you were okay. And then it goes on to say, you do not legitimize a fascist unless you note that he has been a fascist and his plans are fascist. And you damn sure don't let him even get the words "kill babies" out of his mouth. You cut that off at the knees, and that's the point, Nick. So they wanted him to just not allow him to talk, to be very authoritarian with the conversation too. These people
this is so unhinged because they're not even applying this standard in their media. Because what was the name of the actor who just went on an unhinged feel about how we go?
Sean Penn.
So you have Sean Penn on the liberal network who's saying that we need to kill more Russians, we need more people to die, there need to be World War III. Where's the criticism over the report for not cutting that person off? How many propaganda report segments have I done, CJ, where there's some reporter just allowing Anthony Blinken to say some unhinged genocidal shit on air without being corrected?
Yeah.
How many segments? I'm literally countless segments we've done where there's some general on. There's a statement I have in the back. There's a General Milley was just on Morning Joe giving an unhinged spiel about how we got to be prepared for war with China.
I saw that.
There's a Fox News statement I also got saved. I might get to this week, CJ. Who knows? But there's a statement that I saw on China on Fox News. This is for our propaganda report we're going to do later, where this guy's like, yeah, we got to go to war with China. There's going to be a lot of people die, but we got to do it, right? Why are you not calling for those violent psychopaths to be cut off, but you don't want Trump to give his defense? You guys see the weird standards that they have here? Because they also call Trump a notorious liar, the most notorious liar. I think Trump is a notorious liar. But if you guys think that Trump is a bigger liar than Anthony Blinken, than Joe Biden, you're the sweetest, the
summer
hottest
child.
You're the most sweetest summer child out there. Anyway, go ahead, CJ.
All right, I'm just gonna read one more and then we'll get out of here.
In a hot summer.
There is so much else. So let's start by framing it this way, as it did this morning. You do not want your first show to make boycott Meet the press. Wow, they're doing that.
Oh my God! So
in the
we
top
supposed to take the opinions of these fucking NAFO boosted liberals, the blue checks boosted by the algorithm. Like, after that interview, they had DM groups, they had Democratic operative groups where they're like, let's spam hashtag boycott Meet the Press. It literally did not matter what she said. It didn't matter what Trump said. I promise you that shit would start no matter what. They had that shit prepared. But we supposed to take their opinions seriously? The fascists who want to censor the free press? Unbelievable.
Last two paragraphs. No, they don't. See, this is where now they get into what pissed them off. And this is one of the things that I mentioned. No, they allowed Trump to tell the country he lost by 22,000 votes spread across 5 states. The correct answer is narrow, to be sure, but it's actually 44,000, and political observers have known that for 3 years. So basically, him giving his opinion. Now, you're squabbling over 22,000 versus 44,000. That's not a big enough issue for me for you to squabble about to write this article. But essentially, they're mad, Nick. The anger, and we've both said this, so I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm going to say it a slightly different way. The anger is that, listen, we don't have good enough ideas to win on its merit of the argument, so we just have to stop other people from being able to make their argument, even though you say his argument is terrible and his lie and is filled with holes that anybody can see. You still want to stop that. That's a problem with you. That's a problem saying that you don't have confidence in what you have to say, your own team, and you're just scapegoating Welker. Now, don't get me wrong. Kristen Welker is a propagandist, and she's terrible in another way, just not in the way that these shit libs are melting down about. That's my final words. Anything else you have on the topic?
Yeah, I think I said most of it already, but I think it's very revealing. It's a admission that their own arguments are weak. You know what I mean? The reason why they want dissent shut down, you had the Supreme Court that struck down Biden coordinating with social media companies that was censoring people over COVID-19 and the Ukraine war. I covered this. And instead of just taking that LCJ, so it wasn't the Supreme Court, the Fifth Circuit Court that in Missouri that ruled that Biden violated the First Amendment. Now the Biden administration is taking that to the Supreme Court, fam. Like, this is PR. This is a PR disaster, CJ. Why would you want a Supreme Court case over your ability to censor Americans? Wouldn't you want to scrape this L on the rug and move on? No, CJ. It's so important for them to censor people. It's so important for them to control the flow of information. They're willing to take the PR hit of this Supreme Court case in order to accomplish that. That's how weak their ideology is. That's how much contradiction liberalism in the United States is operated under. They can't have any opposition. That's why there's a media blackout on our being. Instead of engaging with us and explaining why our critiques of the Democratic Party is wrong, they won't debate us. They'll have the Gen Z kids on to debate, right? Count Kristen and them, right? Sam Cedar debate all the other guys. Oh, they won't debate me. They will debate, like Sam Cedar debate Jackson. They won't debate us on this, right? Because they know we will dismantle their arguments on this. They rely on censorship. Now, I think that's the biggest takeaway of this story and their reactions. But with this, I think we can wrap here on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I have a special edition, Nick and Night. I'll have our friends from Midwestern Marks on.
Oh, right on. I got to watch that one.
Yeah, obviously some more Marxism talk as well. Trying to bring some more guests on for our Wednesday show. And Midwestern Mark will be joining us on Wednesday. I also have some more guest announcements I will say for Wednesday. I got a lot of people down trying to schedule on. There's a lot of stuff going on, RB. I'm trying to make sure I get everyone's schedules right, but a lot of stuff going on. Midwestern Marks on Wednesday. And that's all I have for today, CJ. Make sure you guys support us on Patreon. That's how we pay Aaron, who does our great graphics and clips on YouTube. And that's all I have. Make sure you guys support our merch on revolutionaryblackout.com. Make sure you check it if you still subscribe. A lot of great stuff going on. So pass UCJ to send us out.
Yeah, I'll do a closeout, and then we'll let you guys know on Substack what's happening tomorrow. Not quite sure about the live stream for tomorrow, so just keep your eyes open on Substack for that. Actually, I think I don't have time. I got to get going. to pick up my daughter from preschool. So, but here's our website. You can check it out. Thank you for watching today. There's no more new super chat, so I think we can end it. Excuse me, right here. So thanks for watching, and we are gone.